are we all? Been watching the Hunger Games. Why do you say so? I'm not actually a massive fan of the Hunger Games. Kinda dull, in my opinion. Vosh is losing his orbit. I don't think Vosh wants an orbit. I think Vosh wants... You know what Vosh is? Vosh is that guy who wasn't cool in high school, but wanted to be cool in high school. And now that he's an adult and he's sort of made it, he just wants to have a bunch of high school kids to show off his cool wardrobe too. And if only that's all he did, it'd be wonderful. I haven't watched Hunger Games, I just assume characters are fingers. That is a strange thing to assume. Very strange. Indeed. Ah. Who's up for some good old-fashioned schadenfreude? There is one silver lining to the last year, which is horrible. And that's that every single person we have beefed with, excepting the worst ones, have all been self-imploding. At least all the ones in sort of the Keffels, Vosh, Xanderhal sphere. All those people. Some of them a bit more sad than others, but overall, we emerged unscathed. I mean, minus the amount of the toll it takes on your mental health, your money, your time, and your general morale. It's been pretty good. Ah, it's damn fine coffee. All right. So, it appears as though it is curtains
There are other
for what increasingly looks like Destiny with cancer. This man does not look well. I don't know what's going on with him, but dear Lord, it worries me somewhat. Get off the screen. Stop putting the chat replay there. It's really annoying, YouTube. Thank you for that. So apparently, just as Hippy Dippy is ending, because it was actually Progressive Victory's idea. Dylan Burns was complaining about that last night. Xanderhal's channel is also not looking too good. And I'm seeing here by the views for a 91,000 sub channel. That's not great. 2,500 views in a day on a channel with almost 100,000 subscribers. And the reason why is very simple. Xanderhal is very dumb and very uncharming and uncharismatic. And he had largely grown to where he was now because he had made particular friends that were very large, who he then stabbed in the back for reasons I cannot fathom. There's also the small detail of him ranting to his former editor about how he wants to literally murder other content creators, but we won't hold that against him. He was in a dark place. Let's be real with Xander on the up and up. He was a glorified Vosh waiting room and nothing more. Yeah, but a Vosh waiting room with some numbers. A Vosh waiting room with numbers. Now, he is a waiting room for... Well, I don't know. I am just very confused about what the... I don't know. I don't understand what these people are doing, largely. None of it makes sense to me. They're just kind of awful. They just really are just universally awful. And so, I'm not gonna lie, I don't feel bad about this. In fact, arguably, Xanderhal indeed ending his channel would probably be him winning. He'd probably go get an actual job, he'd probably have like a normal work-life balance, he'd probably have an actual life. And he might not be so insufferable, because you're not allowed to be that insufferable in the real world. You wouldn't survive.
Creators out there like Skitscape and FOD, some of my OG favorites who it just takes one couple months.
We're a little far behind. Let me see if I can't get the proper timestamp here. Bear with me. I think it's back like 2:30 in.
Decided to shut down the engagement and the like.
I think it's
Look at the Lucy video. If we go to, actually clicked it in the first hour, drop down to
here we
viewers, views. Unfortunately, I am still human, and my biological processes must still happen.
Coward. Biological processes are for the weak and the effeminate. I just suck my urine back up into my body and swallow it. Because I am strong.
Oh.
Ah!
I want to show you guys how YouTube works. Now, thankfully, I can say that the channel is actually in a really good spot right now. We're up over 20% in every metric currently, but a lot of that actually has more to do with the upload rate. That we've been uploading a lot more. And so that's obviously very helpful. But something I've noticed is, and this is a little bit worrying, but maybe it's not as worrying as I think. Maybe it's just a very temporary lull. Despite the extremely...
You know what I do wonder? He's been streaming like 8 hours a day. And you know who else looks kind of like Xanderhal after this year? Tomfoolery. I wonder, a part of me wonders if this is like the use of medication in order to increase focus. What medication it is, I will not speculate, but I would not be surprised. These are people in grind culture.
Frequent uploads and the keeping to the schedule, video by video views, and engagement.
Yeah, don't use Vyvanse or like material to stream a lot, okay? It'll kill you. It'll damage your heart. It'll ruin a lot. Bad for you. Okay? Just don't do it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
Engagement, for that matter, have dropped substantially. If you check this out, you can see newest uploads doing, or this upload's actually doing all right. Like, it's like a 5 out of 10. It's doing okay. The engagement's
like,
not...
There are people who need these drugs in order to function at their jobs and to do what they need to do to get by. Don't go on this stuff to hustle at YouTube, okay? It's not going to work. It's not how that works. The people who do it, I've seen a couple of them who do it, and they don't tend to come out on top. They tend to just melt. And they seem to get kind of delusional, like they don't notice that their channels are failing. It's weird.
Too high, though. Only 25 comments. That's pretty bad. The likes are alright, though, but pretty low comments.
This is a good time to remind you, chat. If you think I'm better than Xanderhal by even a small margin... No, I take that back. If you think I'm better than Xanderhal by a large margin, and only if by a large margin, give this stream a like. If not, give it a dislike. Engagement is engagement, and I can take it. Because I am strong.
This video is actually doing very well comment-wise, but it's still struggling in terms of views, but it is still pretty new. But you can see that some of the newest videos in the last few days, besides this one Batman one, maybe they're just shitty topics, I don't know. Christian MAGA shorts, AOC and Tim Walz playing games, the Vatican's new anime mascot, Greasy Chud thinking Batman's woke, Trump's New York rally being so racist it could lose him the election. These videos are all really underperforming, at least compared to the channel's past, despite everything being kept up with, both in terms of, like, viewers engaging with the videos when they watch them, and the actual view rate. Like, there's very low rate of people clicking on the videos in order to, like, when they get them recommended. Like, if I actually go to analytics... Here, let's look at the Lucy video. If we go to reach or overview here, yeah, here we go. If we go to this, you can see that... Wait, here, where's reach? Yeah. Yeah, so you can see the impressions and click-through rate show that about 6% of people who saw the video recommended actually clicked it in the first hour, dropped down to 4.2%, 4.6%, then 3.6%, 4%, 2.7%, 3.8%, 2.8%. So it's not even just YouTube demoting my videos more, people are clicking my videos less. And there's very few dislikes. Yeah, very few dislikes. No one's unsubbing.
Because they're bad videos. You're boring. Nobody likes you.
So, I don't know.
Hate to break it to you. You don't know anything. You say stupid shit all the time, and now nobody likes you because you're not friends with the people that you were parasocially dependent on for your audience. That's it. That's it. You should have spent time getting good at something. Like, you should have spent time learning something or knowing something. Instead, you weigh into Israel-Palestine and say the death toll could reach the tens of millions. Like, you don't know anything. You don't know anything. You look sick. You're nasty. You're psychotically, violently disposed towards the people you are on a surface level colleagues with. It's probably giving it too much credit. Like, we have you ranting like a lunatic to your editor, saying you want to beat Keffels to death with the gun. Like, that's why nobody's clicking on your videos, because your stuff was being clicked on by people who had a parasocial attachment to you, and you broke that.
I don't know if it's just people are dipping out of my channel or what, but I can say that engagement from fans has been lower in the last few days, like substantially so.
And you call them fans. Never call them fans. That's pretentious. I don't have fans. You are not my fans. You are the ants who lift me up upon your shoulders as a god. You are my worshippers, to be clear, okay? Just remember what the order is.
And on top of that, the video performance has been doing worse. Prob should have commented that. If you don't leave comments in the new videos, then that would explain it. If you're one of many people. We're not...
Xanderhal, when lefties do not click like or comment under the video, stop their heart!
Getting notices from YouTube. That makes sense. If a lot of you guys just can't get notifications from YouTube, there's nothing I can do. The channel, sometimes YouTube just decides to execute channels and will not tell your most hardcore fans you're live. So I understand that. That's why the Discord exists. Like, you can actually see, by the way, there's a separate analytics section where the majority of my views...
Oh, by the by, here's a streamer tip for you as an audience member myself. Okay? Whether you choose to vape or not is entirely your business. Just be advised. There's no way to make it look cool. It just is what it is. There's no way. It's the nature of the beast. Vaping is not aesthetically cool. I don't care if you do it. Good for you. If you have fun with it. Whatever. But don't vape on stream if you're trying to look cool, because it's not going to work. Okay? There's no way to do it. There's no way to do it. It looks like you're sucking on candy while also smoking at the same time. It's like the most uncool parts of smoking with something. It's like metaphysical. It just doesn't work. Maybe someday that will change, but for the time being, it's just not. It's just not.
Come from Discord. From people clicking the Discord notifications, not from YouTube suggestions or like pop-ups in the sub feed. So the Discord server is pretty much what is solely keeping the YouTube channel going right now in terms of new viewers.
Vaping weed is awful for health. Is that what he's vaping? I wouldn't assume he's vaping like weed specifically.
Or, not new viewers, but returning viewers. Because YouTube's just not telling you guys when I go live or upload. So that's pretty rough. Hopefully this stint of YouTube hating the channel ends. But if it doesn't, I'm going to be completely real with you guys. If it doesn't, by the end of the year, channel's done. Legit. Like, if YouTube doesn't, like, let the channel...
This isn't even Schadenfreude, okay? Good for him. Good for him. If his channel goes and he has to get a life, good for him. That'll be good. That'll be good for Xanderhal. I am hopeful for Xanderhal's sake that this is the case. I hope his channel ends. This would be wonderful for him. Xanderhal, you could have a life. You could have people around you who like you. You'll have to become someone that people like in the first place, but that is a thing that you will do of necessity.
Will live, if it decides to keep this going, at the rate that we're going, well before the end of the year.
And some you are, thanks for the $10. I do not worship Sunday. This is not a tithe. It is opposite day, however. The day after Halloween. Wait, no. It's the day after Halloween. What year is it? That is also 1 out of 10 yellow tier donations. If we get 10, I will write a horror story and publish a dramatic reading of it on the channel. So if that's a thing you care about, donate in the yellow tier.
The channel's not going to be viable anymore. Well before the end of the year, I'll have to go the way of Cirrus. I'm sorry, guys, but YouTube has been actively making changes as of late.
Did Cirrus quit? I didn't know Cirrus quit. Is Cirrus out? Since when? Oh, damn, look at that.
Okay. This should be there. Should be good. All right. This...
Yeah, Cirrus is down. This is the end of an era for my... an end of an era. Does that mean... Oh, he's not done? No, look. He's doing what I'm doing. Really hope the pivot to video essays works out. He's not quitting. He's not quitting, Xanderhal. He's just capable of making stuff.
Things damn near impossible to be a small lefty creator. It's
the Jerk Chats, thank for the $10 for the story and for the drama.
Everybody's got to chip in with their likes and their comments, or it just doesn't work. It's why Cirrus recently quit YouTube. He
didn't quit YouTube. He said he's making video essays.
He had to step away because despite grinding as hard as he could, the engagement and the support from YouTube just wasn't enough. So I'm hoping we don't have to go that way. I'm going to keep grinding like crazy, and so is my editor. But if it gets to that point, then there's not much I'll be able to do, guys.
By the way, Xanderhal's editor, when Xanderhal crashes out, I don't wage stuff from my employees. Just saying. My doors are open.
YouTube is kind of the arbiter.
I'm in the market. It's a lot of work. We could use some people to spread the labor around.
Of everything, and the only way you guys can change that algorithm is to engage. Cirrus is still making videos, though. That's good to hear. YouTube has been doing it to almost all lefty creators.
I like how he's struggling not to chastise his audience too hard for not enjoying his videos more.
That's true, yeah.
Note, Source did not say he's making video essays in the video. He was intentionally vague. People seem to think he's making video essays, so running with that.
Not only that, the constant coverage of politics is hurting Cirrus's mental health. I can imagine that's a pretty negative impact, too, yeah.
Stop vaping!
I saw that, Tommy Brunel. It's pretty awesome. Yeah, Arnold is...
He was vaping during the Lawrence Southern debate, too. It's awful. Lisa Blogger, thank you for the 2 US. I'm not paying you $10. Bite me. I will not. That's not how I do, but I do appreciate it. Do not feel... Dear friends, if you appreciate what I do, but you cannot, for whatever reason, responsibly support the channel monetarily, like and subscribe. I do not want you guys to be spending money hurting yourselves to support this job, which is a job and it's a lot of work, but it's a luxury, okay? Let's be clear about this. If you're paying, it's because you are in a place where it is easy for you to do so. Just to be clear, all right? I do not want people spending money on my channel if it hurts you. Do not feel like you have to. Do not feel like there's any pressure to. Do not feel like you are a second-class citizen here if you don't. That's all, okay? The support thing, it is essential. It helps me pay for, like, obviously keeping, like, this office and making sure that, like, my editors are paid and whatnot. Do not pay if you are in a position where paying hurts. Don't pay a little bit if paying hurts. Just don't pay if paying hurts, okay? When you can, when you're in a good spot and you want to, I am extremely grateful. Do not spend money if it hurts you. Unless you're conservative and you want to get my opinion on, and you want to, like, pick a fight with me, in which case, you bleed that sucker dry, okay? But other than that, Daniel Van, I'm so sorry. I want to read your whole name out, but it doesn't show the whole... I guess I need to pop out the chat. There we go. Now I can see the whole thing. Daniel Van Winden, thank you for the $10. First super chat I've ever sent, all for your Luxury Sunday theory. Thank you so much.
Base. Like, even though he ran as a Republican when he was governor of California, he has constantly been based. He has a Magic the Gathering channel now? Cool. Pog, knowing YouTube now, that's probably going to succeed more than political content will on the left. Yeah, it could have something to do with the current YouTube CEO being friends with Elon Musk.
Okay, Xanderhal. My dear child, my dear sweet Xanderhal. Your channel is not failing because the YouTube CEO is friends with Elon Musk. Your content is not that type of content. Look, let's take a look. Let's take a look at what you actually make, all right? Because I'm telling you right now, okay, the YouTube CEO is not concerned about you. You are not turning the tide, all right? Look at this. We're talking, your channel, Xanderhal, has almost 100,000 subscribers. Mine has 17.8. Significant distance, okay? In terms of size. You currently, after close to an hour of streaming, have 215 people watching you. I have 294. The reason for this is not because Elon Musk or Elon Musk's friends in YouTube are throttling viewership for lefty creators. The reason is that you have put yourself into a position where a lot of people who used to watch you are deeply uncomfortable with how you conduct yourself, okay? We're going to do a theory segment at the end of this. Thank you so much, Shaihulud for the $19.99. And Martin Orlando for the $5 theory. Would you ever consider philosophy of Warhammer lore that isn't 40k? Age of Sigmar matters too, haha, at least to us in the niche. When I get this Lord of the Rings and Anarchism video done, I'm going to be more exploratory and whatnot. I'm probably going to finish the script for that tonight. It's been just a wild week. So I have, however, constantly been reading throughout that whole thing. So, like, I am making progress on that. It will be done soon. And then I have a slate of essays that are actually basically written at this point that are going to come out one after the other. Rixai, thank you for the $9.99. Very much appreciated. So the theory meter is filled. We are going to do a theory section tonight. Absolutely. I didn't put the notice up for a reason there because we're not going immediately into that. I think what I'm going to start doing going forward is it's going to be on the next segment kind of thing. Matt Fury for the $5. Will you be doing election coverage? Also, I've been a lurker for a while and decided to reimburse you for the entertainment theory. Thank you very much. I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to be doing election coverage. I might. The next video essay is Bloodborne Cal. And here I'm still waiting for my Clive Barker content. Well, you're in luck because the next video essay is also Clive Barker content. Specifically, I'm looking at political horror. So there's stuff. It's coming. I'm wrestling with time. It is crazy how slow that is, but I'm getting there. I did a big update on the Patreon, so patrons of all levels can see a very rough draft of the script that's up. It's expanded since then. It'll be done hopefully tonight. And yeah, you could have pushed the Greens prez. No, you couldn't have. I also don't want to. But yeah, no, like this is just a terrible outcome for a channel of this size. You have almost 100,000 subscribers and 220 watching after an hour. That's terrible. And the reason for this is just because you built your audience primarily off of your connections, which you then burned. Because for some reason you thought, I don't know what he thought. Did he think that people were there for him? Because they're not. People were there for Xanderhal because Xanderhal was an extra hit of Vosh. Or an extra hit of Demon Mama, or an extra hit of whoever he's friends with, and that's it. And you never want an audience like that, because an audience like that is one that's extremely fickle. I reckon that while I'm just based on like what I've observed, about half of the people in this audience would actually stick around if I did a theory section. Actually, we've had pretty good turnout for theory segments recently. We've had like 260 concurrently. Like that's a thing, which has been really cool to see. That's because this is an audience that's here for the stuff that the channel does, by and large. I'm sure some of you are here for other stuff, but like by and large, that's sort of what I'm gauging here, which was not the case a couple years ago. Xanderhal's audience is there primarily because they haven't caught wind of what's happened between him, Vosh, Demon Mama, and Keffels, and so on and so forth. And it's not great. Adetic X, I watch more of your theory stuff than drama, but select drama is alright for me. I try to keep the drama stuff as much as possible, like stuff that's not too tedious. So like, for example, I don't cover, like right now all the drama people are covering stuff with that just a robot guy. Like I just don't cover that kind of thing because that's like digging into people's personal lives and there's no broader import. I'll cover this because this is like this is another political channel that's been sort of hostile to me in the past, and he's funny. in all the worst ways. And there's sort of like some fun diagnosing it, but I generally avoid a lot of the shit that like drama commentators cover. Not knocking it or anything. That's a business. It works really well for them. It's just not what I'm interested in. So I think the Xanderhal segment qualifies as drama. I would say so, but I think it's the kind of drama where I wouldn't be offended at myself for covering it, if that makes sense.
That probably has a pretty like strong negative impact. But like, once again, it's not just YouTube. Is there a way where I can see? Is there a way where I can see? It's a lefty content viewer problem too. For instance, not even everyone watching the stream right now has hit the like button.
Yeah, but same with mine. Same with mine. But do you know why I'm not complaining about my audience not hitting the like button, Xanderhal? Because I am stronger. And you are clearly not of the strongest, you are clearly of the weakest.
Have less likes than we have current viewers on the stream. And the stream's views in total are 1,100, which means less than little over 10%, sorry.
I hit the dislike button every time I'm asked to hit the like. Good. Good. Do likewise, dear friends. Hit that dislike button. Actually, don't. I don't know what it does. Seriously, I don't know what it does. Hit the like button, for the love of God, okay? I was joking about that last year. I actually don't know if it fucks with the thing. It might literally matter now. I don't know what the new algorithm changes mean. I'm kind of terrified of that. But, in all seriousness, like, chastising your audience for not hitting the like button is a mistake. Don't do that. I was joking. I mean, I used to do that. And I used to tell you to do that as a joke. I did it today, and I just realized I was saying that. Oh, maybe that's a bad idea. Just maybe. And right now I know a bunch of people are going to do that to experiment. God damn it.
Of people who've gone into the stream today chose to hit the like button, despite it taking half a second. That is what kills so many lefty YouTube channels. Just like the low rate of voting participation among progressives, they also think their likes and their comments don't count when there's millions that are being included.
Xanderhal's channel is failing due to voter apathy. Leftists, you're dropping the ball. We're never going to get a revolution at this rate. You're not liking Xanderhal's streams. Von Tux for the $10 US sampled a Vosh stream recently. In 5 minutes, he complained about how doomed we are, praised his clothes, and read a dono from someone who spent their paycheck's last $50 on him. No refund given. That's freaking... You know, hey, you want to know something? Look. I'm glad I remembered this, okay? It reminds me a little bit that sometimes the worst people around me are also still human. I had, I'm not going to name names, but we had a person in our server who made a video and donated $300 to Destiny to watch it, okay? And he watched the video and he was like, the video was of a production style where it's like, okay, was this person like in a position to make a wise decision when they sent this money? And he offered to find a way to pay it back. That counts for a lot, to be honest. Like, awful human being on many other levels, but like that's a thing that surprised me. It's not a thing. I have no idea if there's any follow through on that, so it could have been bullshit. But like, Jesus, especially when you're someone who gloats about being wealthy as a leftist streamer, like when you're seeing people just throw money at you because they've sort of bought the bullshit, like at a certain point, that's got to affect you, right? Like that's... God, I hate these people. These people just suck so much.
In an algorithm to account for things, and so they don't get involved. And so lefty channels have always had really low engagement and had a really hard time existing online. Like,
that's not true. Lefty channels have done very well for themselves, actually. Vosh in particular has done very well for himself. H-Bomber guy's done very well for himself. Sam Seder's on YouTube, he does very well for himself. Who else? Shark Zero does very well for himself. There's a lot of lefty channels that are successful. You are not successful because you are unappealing. You're unappealing, unwholesome, unclever, and unfunny. Pick one of those things. You can't be all of them. If you're all of them, you fail. Doesn't matter where you're starting off from. You need to be one of those things. You need to be funny, charismatic, intelligent, concise, well-produced, like any one of these things. But you're just a schlub in his basement. And you look sickly because you're not taking care of yourself. And you're throwing everything you have into stretching yourself as thin as possible, like butter scraped over too much bread. When what you should be doing is going to the store and getting more butter. Okay? Which of those are you pretending to be? Why, charming, of course. Definitely not intelligent, God no. Epimonius, thank you for the 10 CHF, whatever that is. But I'm interested. R.I.P. Zan gave us hits like white rights, puking on... Oh yeah, I forgot about that. He said white rights in the Learn Southern debate. Puking on stream. I enjoyed him puking on stream. Losing all his money in PayPal. Oh yes. Does anybody know about this? This is funny. I think everybody knows about this, but I'll repeat it anyways because it's hilarious. At one point in his streaming career, I think this was 2 years ago, Xanderhal lost all of his money because he was storing all of his money on PayPal because he hadn't bothered to open a bank account. That's like, it's amazing to me. And tens of millions of Gazans may find happiness and success in Burger King. Well, he mentions McDonald's, I think, in here. I think his heart's set on McDonald's. Between the two of them, I think McDonald's is the classier joint these days.
Going back to the beginning, because lefties don't click things. They don't engage. They don't vote. They don't make their voice heard because they're just one person. How could YouTube being bad be Elon's fault? The current CEO of YouTube is friends with Elon Musk, as in is a very right-leaning conservative.
By the way, our goal, we are at 7 out of 10. Very close. At the end of which, I will write a horror story and publish a dramatic reading of it on my channel. Okay? This is continuous with the previous goal we had. I knocked it down from 25 as we got 10 the last time, so we're close.
I hit the like button. Thank you, Perry Icefire. I appreciate it. But yeah,
I'm sorry. I'm struggling to like just process just the sheer level of arrogance it takes. Really, to go. Oh, my metrics are down. Leftists in my audience, you're all too apathetic. You're not doing your civic duty and liking and subscribing. This is exactly the reason why Trump will win, because leftists aren't supporting my channel. It's like, dude, let's look at your channel for a second. Let's see what kind of stuff you produce, okay? Just for argument's sake. I'm a little bit curious myself. Let's see. What's unique here? Tim Pool got humiliated by Sam Seder in his own show. Right-wing podcasts are creating an army of delusional voters. Odessa, trans people using the bathroom. Sorry, $10,000 bounty on trans people using the bathroom. Trump sues. The Vatican's doing it. Like, it's just generic political content. It's boring. None of this stands out. Like, why would I ever watch Xanderhal when I can watch Pondering Politics, where he actually knows what he's talking about? He's charming, and he's not a train wreck. Like, yeah, I saw a bit of the Tim Pool Sam Seder talk from last night. It was awesome. I saw Kid Not Kin covering it. Like, why would I... Like, Kid Not Kin's someone I'll watch political coverage of. Because he's got a head on his shoulders, and he's got a smooth, classy delivery. This is the opposite of that. Why on earth would I spend time watching this guy who doesn't know anything, who's killing himself pretending to know things, and is just doing the same kind of content that everybody else is doing? There's just no point. It's boring. Frankly, I don't even know why you're watching me right now.
Wondering, like, why does YouTube kill channels like this? It's partially because YouTube just makes these decisions. It's partially because as a content creator, you gotta scream and beg and fall to your knees. And
Zan still doing that shit so close to an election? I mean, Xanderhal broke up with Vosh. I need to reset the thing, because theory was filled. My apologies, guys. So, and then drama is at 48. Can we watch the Zan puking clip for the funsies? In time. Soon. We will, of course. We must, at the end, okay?
and offer free blowjobs to get like 5 extra likes.
I missed the context for that, but apparently he's offering free blowjobs, so he'll give him 5 extra likes, okay?
Because no one thinks that their like or comment counts, or they're too lazy. It's either one of those two things generally, and so they don't participate, and then thousands of people...
Theory is filled and we get Zan. No, theory is filled and you get life-destroying diagrams in a few minutes. Patience.
Think that, and then, yeah. Anyway, just thought I'd talk about it, just in case in the coming months.
Connor for the $10. I have no idea what is going on, just popping in to say I despise Zan before it was cool. Well, that's where you're wrong, because it was always cool to despise Zan.
The channel has to be retired, and I am forced to leave the internet and go work at, like, McDonald's or something.
No, you're not going to work at McDonald's, Xanderhal. You've got a good skill set. You could probably... work at Denny's.
Because while we are uploading more than ever at the current rate, if the channel doesn't hit, like, a day where we actually gain views instead of lose views, then we're going to... It's just not going to be viable, guys. Don't know what to tell you.
Despising Xanderhal, he's a character of pity. He's a character of pity now, but for a little while he was actually quite successful. And while he was successful, he was awful to the people around him. So people are experiencing a little bit of schadenfreude. He shall be a creature of pity soon.
Will you keep the server up? Probably not. You guys are already acting like the channel's dead. Damn.
Will you keep the server up? Probably. So you just fuck the community then? Just screw those people? It's all about you? If this channel dies, by the way, that server's staying up forever. Just so you know. That thing's never going away.
I can guess what you guys are expecting.
All my supporters just disappear now because they were just keeping the server alive.
Thing to happen.
I said schadenfreude. What did I say? I said schadenfreude. Did I say schadenfreude? I keep doing that. It's like Worcestershire sauce.
Don't worry, I'll have a spot for you in my concentration camp. Thanks, Pastor Huckleberry. A.k.a. conservative class pet.
I said shadow fraud? No, I said schadenfreude.
Worst timeline, Trump wins, Xan kills the channel.
Silence.
Xan is last seen at McDonald's. Real. Although, to be fair,
God,
Trump winning is a scenario where I'm probably more likely for the channel to survive, to be fair. It's strange to see views drop so much right before the election, too. It makes me think that YouTube, like, days before the election...
Brooks, why are you saying Worcestershire sauce like that? That's wrong.
...decided to shut down the engagement and the, like...
The Shire of Worcester is not pleased.
...recommendations for as much left-wing content as they can. A Trump presidency would equal a lot more money for YouTube, and we know what scummy bullshit Google has done behind the scenes with their search algorithm. So maybe it's just...
Again, like, none of it's because the content sucks. None of it's because he disappointed his community. None of it's because he broke off his connections. None of it's because he's awful. It's all because the audience is not doing their part to support him in particular. Meanwhile, there are a bunch of lefty content creators that are doing great. It's like... Yeah, the head of YouTube, the CEO of YouTube is friends with Elon Musk, and he's specifically afraid of Xanderhal turning the tide of the election. I don't think so. I think what's happening, Xanderhal, is nobody wants to watch you because you're kind of a creep. Hate to, like, don't get me wrong, also a victim in his own right. Like, he's been mistreated and manipulated by a lot of the incredibly nasty people surrounding him in that space. It's been creepy to see. But he's also one of them. He's been doing the same thing. So it's like, I'm sorry. I don't think the problem is the audience. I don't think the problem is the audience. Did we get a raid or something? A lot of people, or just people hate Xanderhal that much, I guess.
After the election, things will go back to normal, but until the election, lefty content might be down, like, demoted, so to say.
Why? I think it might kind of be the opposite. I think the election is incredibly draining on people. It makes the content homogenous between lefty and liberal channels. Like, there's no distinction. Like, that's another thing, too, is like a consequence of the hyper-focus on the outcome of the election is that all of the content in the lefty sphere is, like, the same. It's all concerned with the same things. There's very little intellectual diversity. There's very little creative work being done. And a whole lot of people are just, like... I'm not one to talk, I'm doing React content right now, but a whole lot of people are just relying entirely on React content, so they're not creating anything original, they're just responding to other people, which is fine. That's super, I like that kind of thing, if you're making, like, meaningful commentary. But if you're just commenting to comment, it's incredibly boring. Like, at a certain point, like, you have to look at it and go, like, is this really how I want to spend an evening, is listening to somebody vape and talk about stuff they don't understand?
Zan, I've learned a lot from you, my man. It would be a shame if this channel shuts down. Really hope it doesn't come to that. Well, something you're going to learn very quickly from the online space is that nuance...
We are one more away from the horror story being written. I've just bought a ton more work for myself. You want to know what's crazy, too? Oh, I shouldn't even talk. I should not even talk about this. I shouldn't talk about this live, but it's funny. It's funny. I acquired the new Sonic and Shadow game because I must humiliate Queeman once again, and I shall. But how I acquired it. The things we must do to survive in this cruel world.
Is in very short supply and very low demand. You should always become a drama channel. You'd probably get canceled less. You could yeah, if I just became a drama channel, that'd be funny. Nah. I'd probably want to go...
Like that scene in Berserk with Griffith and the old man.
Like, retire from YouTube if things got too unviable in the next month or two. And, or even the next few weeks, the rate that it's going.
Only a few weeks. Christmas comes early this year. Only a few weeks and Xanderhal's channel might go belly up. Oh.
If things get, like, too unviable, I'd probably go and, like, either edit for other YouTubers or probably do a job that involves working outside. Because I like outdoors.
Oh, what a weird turn of events. My channel's doing well. We've had its ups and downs, but it's doing well. It's moving up. Consistent upward trajectory. Last month was kind of a wash. I was very sick. And my editor was very sick. And my other editor was very busy. And da-da-da-da. But upward trajectory overall. We're doing very well for ourselves. Very good. And Xanderhal's going back outside to work in the cold where I was. Someone made a deal with the devil. True, yes, Xanderhal. You may edit for me. I will accept you, Xanderhal. You may edit for me if your channel fails. You and your editor both. I'll put your editor in charge. He can tell you what to do, okay?
But I'm doing everything in my power to keep things going, even expanding streams to be 8 hours long.
Jesus.
In order to make sure that we're able to get by. So let's hope.
8 hours? Why would you ever do this to yourself? What if you did this? No. 8 hours of your day doing this? That's exhausting. Go get a job. Go get a job and stream part-time. And while you're streaming part-time, read a book. Find a book and read it. And make a video essay about what you learn in the book. So that other people can find your channel and go, huh, I actually learned something from this. There's something interesting here. And then they'll watch you. And you can talk about stuff that you learn. And you can talk about stuff that you experience in your day-to-day. Instead of, let's listen to the political opinions of guy who lives in basement and does nothing but live in basement and talk about other people's videos. Why would people want to watch other people's videos through you when they can just watch other people's videos when you have nothing else to say? You have to have something to say in order to have a product.
Hope, guys.
Lulz and learning and experiencing things. Brooks, come on. Come on, have a little faith. He just needs to pull a cart in the mud for a little bit, okay? It'll build character. He will learn. He needs to dig some holes with a pickaxe while it's snowing. Okay?
Nah, grad.
You do that, and let me tell you, you changes your mind about a lot of things.
That's right, and I doubt it. I doubt it. Just, if you want to support the channel. I appreciate it. There are many free ways to do so, and I'm gonna keep grinding like crazy.
No. See, that's a mistake. Don't promote the free ways to support the channel. Promote the monetary ways to support the channel, but give them something for it. Find something to give them for it. If you can do that, then you're golden, because then you're selling a product. The whole relying on the algorithm thing doesn't make any sense. You want to build tall. You want to have a community that likes you for you and is willing to support you directly. Because there's no money in the algorithm, especially when you're doing lefty content of this tier. Like, he's getting better views than me, but he should be getting way better views than me. Like, significantly so. He's got almost 100,000 people subscribed to him. He does not even have... Like, how many people are watching right now? Let's take a look. We got 412 people here. 17.8 thousand subscribers, okay, on my channel. He has 91.5 thousand. He's got just over half half of my current viewership. I'm not bragging about this. My current viewership is not massively high. The point is, his is massively low considering where he's at. There are reasons for this. And the reasons for this is that he is doing things that are not appealing to an audience that wants to come in and actually sit there and support him. He could stream a self-development journey. He could go into the mountains and become a monk. Xanderhal is a monk and coming back with crime-fighting skills. I'd watch that. I would watch the shit out of that. That'd be awesome. Just Xanderhal going on an epic journey of self-discovery and actualization. Just Xanderhal wearing nothing but a billowing robe, walking barefoot across the Alps. Dude, I have a monk video to watch. That's awesome. We'll do that in between this and the theory segment, okay? In fact, actually, I should update that because we're past that a little bit. We're at like... I'm going to ballpark it. I'm actually giving you a freebie, okay? Because we're bumping the theory a little bit later today, but I'm giving you a 20 boost. So we'll be doing the next theory sooner.
And if the channel is able to succeed, it'll succeed. Is this doom posting? I'm not really doom posting. I'm mostly just being open with you guys.
I honestly think this is optimism posting. I think Xanderhal's channel ending will save Xanderhal as a person. I think it'll be good for him. It'll be good for him. It'll be good for everyone else.
It's about the state of the channel. I've never been tight-lipped about what...
Xanderhal will be fine. He's on that Sigma grind set. The views will come to him. Look at this man's face. Okay, this man... This is not the chin of a man who will be fine, okay? This guy is killing himself. This dying channel that he is this is killing him. This is bad for him. Really bad for him. Evil Morty, present Sunday, if I paid you enough, would you do a video essay about the Insomniac Spider-Man games? I would not do one relatively soon, so caveat emptor, but I will always accept money.
When the channel's doing well or when it's doing poorly.
I have a Lord of the Rings one. I'm in an anarchism one in the works at the moment. I've got a horror and politics one, and I have a Bloodborne one. I've got those three right now. They're going to come out, hopefully all within this month. This is the month. This is it. We're almost there, okay?
Like, I've always been open about that. So...
How can his neck support that big head of his? It's full of gas. It holds itself up.
Just letting you guys know. Oh, man, I don't have a water. Oh, God. I'll be right back, guys. I'm gonna grab myself a water. I'll be back in just a second.
So weak he needs water. Unbelievable. Come on, show some pride. From Soft to Hard is a great project name. Oh, it's going. It's going. Everything's still going.
Sorry about that, guys. I drank it before, and I just finished my shake. I was thirsty. Needed something. Nah. You guys don't need to conspire on how to farm views on my stuff. I just appreciate if when you watch my stuff, or if you do watch my stuff, you guys leave...
Okay. I'm looking at his comments right now. Because... I'm not seeing people conspiring to farm views on his stuff. I think he's saying, no, don't conspire to farm views on my content, guys. No, I'm too selfless for that. No. Just like and subscribe and, just be here and be yourselves. Don't share my videos at any Discord you happen to be a part of. Don't link my stuff all over Twitter, etc., etc. Like, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Leave a comment and a like.
Is he still on White Forest? That's a good question, actually. Let's see. Xanderhal, White Forest. The Xanderhal Hangout. That's just a website. I don't know if he has a White Forest anymore. Has he been taken off that? I wouldn't be surprised if he was. There we go. It's right there. Okay. I just don't know if it's going to like show my email address as soon as I click it, so I'm going to open it in the other window first. Always wary of that. Here we go. How many viewers has he got here? So he's got 200 there. Who's on this one? Can't even see, but it's Holy shit, that is a dead chat, though. That is a dead chat, though. Look at that. There's like nobody here. Damn. Damn.
Takes half a second. You can just say algo gods. It helps a lot. And YouTube does demote content that gets views with... Okay. There is something worse than a lack of a view on a YouTube video. If anyone wants to aspire to do YouTube, you'll want to know this. The worst thing for your YouTube video is to get a lot of views and for those viewers to leave right away. So like, let's say they stick around for 10 seconds, get bored, and then leave, and they don't leave a like or a dislike or a comment. If you get like a wave of people like that on a video right when it uploads, YouTube, that video's dead in the water. It will never succeed. It's done. It's dead. You might as well delete it. It's hurting your channel more than it's helping. So that is a thing to know about how YouTube's algorithm treats YouTube channels. Can we use this knowledge to kill channels we don't like? Sadly, no. No.
Sadly, no? Who's he responding to? That's the most recent one, okay.
There is no way to reliably kill a channel you don't like unless you were already a fan of that channel.
That doesn't make... You can't kill a channel by being a fan of a channel either, Xanderhal. That doesn't make any sense.
It's more of like a reality of like... I mean, it's happened to me. Let me talk about one of my... Oh, God, dude. Oh, man, this shit makes me so sad. I'm gonna fucking cry thinking about it. Who here knows about the Creatures? Who remembers the Creatures? Let me bring up their YouTube channel. I'm literally tearing up with nostalgia right now.
What?
Who remembers the Creatures?
Me? The Creatures.
God, they're hard to find on YouTube now. Here they are. Alright, the Creatures. When I was a young lad, these guys were my genuine goats. This is now an archive channel now, because they no longer exist. They've been disbanded 7 years now. Good God. Now, you'll notice...
Oh!
If I sort by popular...
Wait, I recognize these people. Didn't they have... No, they didn't crash out because people stopped engaging with their stuff. They had some kind of like internal drama that sort of broke their audience, no?
Peak was like 9 to 10 years ago. 12 to 9 years ago. They had like this massive peak where everyone...
Who the hell left in that comment? It's a weird thing, like, can't we use this to kill channels we don't like? It's like, what? Why would you want to? Like, why would it be a bad thing that you can't? And, like, if it was somebody else, I think that was a joke. Because I'd make that joke. It's like, no, unfortunately, we cannot use this to destroy our enemies. But I think when Xanderhal says that, he is 100% saying it straight. Because that's how he is. He doesn't have layers that way. He's not really capable of humor. Like, he's just genuinely not. Except for this. Okay, this is a classic.
Just nodding their head as if you're a child, and going along with what they're saying, but not actually internalizing any of it, and like introspect.
Just right on the floor. Just right flat on this carpeted floor. Just it never gets old. Like I can't imagine just like being there like this on camera, not even turning your camera off, just going just right where you work.
Just
let's do it one more time.
Nodding their head as if you're a child, and going along with what they're saying, but not actually.
That wasn't in a trash can. Doesn't matter. I mean, it's better if it's in a trash. But no, there's no trash can there. Somebody else had to clean it up. And you can't aim that shit when that happens.
Internalizing any of it and like introspectively.
Look, hang on. Let's just analyze this a little bit more deeply, okay? Because this is important. We need to figure this out. I don't think there's a trash can there. I think that's just to his side.
Just nodding their head as if you're a child, and going along.
It was sudden. It wasn't that sudden. You could see him holding it in. At the point where you're like, at that point, guys, turn your camera off. Take a break. End stream. Okay? It's okay. It's okay. In fact, you know what we're going to do? You know what we're going to do? Can we... Is there an option here? Oh, there's no clip button for this. Damn it. Guess it's not long enough. Whatever. Ah. Just one more, okay? One more. We gotta do it one more time.
Child, and
Absolutely.
going along with what
Sure.
they're saying,
Yeah.
but not actually internalizing any of
I'm sorry. I just enjoy that so much. It's beautiful. You never see that.
Everyone loved them. They had a massive fan base, right? But then some things started to change. You know, there was like a lot of changes, especially with YouTube at the time. And the viewership dropped to a level where, for the most part, it was unsustainable, and they had to end the channel. The last video...
Why, man? Because this channel is for the strongest. You're clearly of the weakest.
Mogs, viewership mogs, everything else they've made in years before then. And all the comments are like, if only I had been more supportive. And I was one of those people. I didn't like or comment on most of these videos back then because I was a kid and I didn't understand how the algorithm worked or why it was valuable. And I look back at it and I'm like, damn, maybe I shouldn't have stopped watching their videos persistently because...
The creatures are dead, and it is Xanderhal who hath killed them. That's not how this works, dear children. I don't know if I need to explain this to you. Channels do not die because individuals did not like and subscribe and comment enough. Lots of people like and comment because the content is good and it provokes that response in general. Individuals not doing so is a sign that the content isn't doing that for other people. For whatever reason, their content declined. Or their content was... A part of their content was a community that followed their stuff, and that broke somehow. There was some kind of internal drama, whatever, some change in direction, and they lost that, and as a result, people just stopped engaging because it just wasn't there anymore. That's what's happened to Xanderhal. It's just not there anymore. Because he was a Vosh waiting room, and he was friends and buddy-buddy with, like, Keffels, D-Mom, etc., and they all hated each other in the background. And frankly, how could you blame him? But he brought that to the foreground because he just couldn't take it. He just couldn't take it. And it takes a lot of discipline to get along with people you really don't like and resent. And he couldn't do it. And he made a big stink about it, and he destroyed the community that other people had built that he was allowed to sit at the table with. And so now he doesn't benefit from it anymore.
Now the creatures are gone.
Wendy grew up and Peter was left in Never Neverland.
I go back and I watch their stuff and I miss them, and it's 7 years now. But YouTube is a evil, evil bitch. And even I have lost some of my favorite creators to the torrent.
He's gonna disappear like Bing Bong.
That is YouTube's constantly changing landscape. And they're not the only ones. There are other content creators out there like Skitscape and Fod, some of my OG favorites who it just takes one couple months of YouTube fucking you over and they're gone forever, and I miss these creators a lot. So on the creator side, it's just luck if your channel lives or dies. There are things you can do to keep it up, but there are stints where you're...
It's not just luck. It is not just luck. It's not luck at all. It's a shit ton of really hard work and a lot of patience and actually having something to sell. And not just a lot of patience, but you also have to, like, I was really, really bad at live streaming when I started. I originally did video essays, and I don't like my video essays anymore. I think my new ones are good, but I look back and like they were embarrassing. It's the kind of things that it's the kind of stuff that I laugh at now from other people, which maybe I should be nicer about it. But like being able to present in this particular medium in this way is a skill set. Brooks did public speaking for a very long time, so his video essays, he's very good at portraying on camera right out the bat, like, but because he's been doing similar types of presentations for like decades. But if you haven't been doing that, and this is your first time like doing this as like a public speaking gig kind of thing, very hard. It takes a lot of work. Like, among other things, like just the muscle memory of like remembering where cameras are and like how to gesticulate and stay within the frame and things like that. A lot of work. How to like hold frame, how to like fight your nerves when you're in a debate with somebody, like super difficult. I think I only actually overcame that last one like this year. It like rattles you. It's weird. Like you just get like, ugh. And it's not even that it's scary. It's just like, it's a weird alien, especially because you're not even like dealing with a person in front of you. You're dealing with monitors, and you're paying attention to how you're portraying from different angles. You're paying attention to like, you're making sure that like your nervous fidgeting or like what you're doing to sort of like research and keep up to date on stuff that you really should know in advance but you don't and whatnot is not too distracting or obvious, like all that sort of stuff. It's difficult to do. Doing that like passively takes a lot of practice. It's a very slow process. I mean, I've done like 500 hours of TV and 1,000 plus hours of live presentations for groups. Yeah, keep bragging, Brooks. We will surpass you soon, and then we'll be laughing. You're being a politician, kind of, but with a fraction of the financial support, and I mean a fraction of a fraction, and you don't have party lines. So, not bragging, saying it takes, but yeah, it's a ton of work, but you're very good at it as a result. Although I've seen your interviews from like decades back, and you portrayed pretty well then too. But like, and you can see like Xanderhal has that part down. Like he knows how to hold frame. He knows how to but he just has nothing to say. He doesn't know anything. He's not interesting. He's not charming. So like he needs to work on that part of things. That'll help his channel. Because right now, I look at this and I see nothing. I see Demon Mama's speech patterns and nothing else. No community, no particular interests, no character, no particular topical focus, no knowledge base, like just nothing. It's a blank void. Why would I waste my time on this? Runsk for the $4.99. Thank you very much. Not to hijack your channel, but you mentioned Demon Mama and I was wondering what was up with her channel. What is up with her channel is that she was plausibly accused of permitting one of her partners to send pornographic material to someone who was working for her who was a minor. And she didn't answer it appropriately. She dismissed it. A whole lot of people are disappointed, and she just disappeared. So she hasn't made any videos for, I think, a little over, I think close to 2 months, maybe over 2 months by now. And that's basically it. You want to see an example of somebody who answered allegations like that correctly. And a big part of this too is like there are some people you can't answer these allegations directly. But Chalogic was accused of grooming somebody, right? And so his response, which by the way, if you're innocent, is the best response, one of the best responses you can do if you're in a situation, is he just exposed everything. It's like, oh, I've been accused of this taking place in these chat logs. Let me show you all the chat logs. He went through them. And it's in the past now. When people like Noah Samson go after him for it, they're laughed at. So, yeah. She got BTFO. I don't think she was actually. Like I think I've thought about this a little bit. I think the reason why Demon Mama disappeared, primarily, is embarrassment more than anything. I think, because she probably could have, because her plan initially was to really hyper-focus on, pointing out inconsistencies in, the victim's, story, and to point out that certain claims that originated specifically with Tyler, because Westside Tyler is the one who made the Demon Mama critique. Namely that she had committed wage theft and that her community was a cult, were ridiculous. I said that's exactly the tack she would take. And a whole lot of people after her rebuttal video, were in the comments of that video, which had no actual good answer to any of the accusations that were raised, except for the ones that Tyler made up because he wanted to make this part of a campaign to build his channel off of anti-Vosh content. Because he's a massively just a massively duplicitous and stupid individual who just doesn't care about anything. Everybody in the comments is like, okay, you know what? That's good enough for me. Glad you're back, Demon Mama. And then she just never came back. I think her last video was a month ago, and it was like skibbity toilet stuff. So I think she's just out. I think she's out of the game. Maybe she'll come back, but I think they have enough side hustles going on where they're making ends meet with other things. I don't think they're coming back. She was also censoring other comments, though. I noticed that. She was censoring comments, they were critiquing her, but I think that I don't think she's in a position to show her face right now. Or at the very least, I think that's her mindset. So, yeah.
Where YouTube loves your channel. This happened a month ago. YouTube loved my channel, was like constantly shilling my old videos out to people, and I was getting comments nonstop on like my older popular videos. It was very clear YouTube was in a mode of liking my channel, and then there are times where YouTube is like purging 100 subs a day of inactive people from my sub feed, or from my sub count, and my videos are doing badly like right now. This will probably just last a week, full disclosure, but it happens, you know? Sometimes YouTube kills channels. I'm just warning you guys.
It's a conspiracy. YouTube's killing this channel. It's just...
Could be happening. It might not be. There are ways to prevent it if it is, and to make things get better, so I'm just letting you guys know. You need a backup plan because of the fact that this could happen. There are no backup plans, guys, with YouTube. You just gotta... You have to have an option outside of YouTube, which I do, thankfully. Perry Icefire, thank you for the $5. I appreciate that. Very kind of you. Says, whenever you can, please read...
The skibbity toilet stuff is being dripped out from a single stream before any of that ever happened. She's just been gone. Yeah. That's old stuff. Because she was trying to stretch stuff out to just keep the channel alive. But, like, there's nothing to go back to. Like, the community is destroyed. We took a lot of the people in that were reasonable. Like... But a lot of people were just... Yeah. What's the TLDR of Xanderhal's end? His views are down and he's blaming his audience. That's what it is. People aren't engaging with his content because it's boring, and he thinks that actually what's happening is it's voter apathy, okay? The same reason people Democrat or lefties don't go out to vote. Lefties aren't voting with their clicks on Xanderhal.
Read staff chat, starting at my ping message. Also, please don't leave us. I'll try to support you no matter what. I'm not like, you don't gotta beg me not to leave or anything. It's just, it is just a situation of YouTube being bitchy. I appreciate any extra support. Okay, what's this message say? For those who are complaining about the mod...
Rotherick, for the 10 euros, let this be the final horror story chat. Well, I'm committed now. I now have to write out a horror story. And, do a dramatic reading of it. And publish it on the channel. I'll make the thing available in the Discord server. The document when it's done. You can give your thoughts. And then I shall produce it. I make no promises about how long it will take, but I'm hoping it will not take long. Okay? Because what's going to happen is one of these nights I'm going to be up very late and I'm going to be inspired and it's just going to emerge. And it will be beautiful. Ronsk, thank you for the US $19.99. Thanks for the explanation. Here's to hoping your channel grows. I'll be here for a while. Why, thank you. I appreciate that.
Mods during the stream. It was a vote to minimize brain rot terms in Gen Chat. That was a vote here in staff chat and in the Gen Chat. There's not a...
There's nothing else here. I think we get the general idea. I think we get it. Here's what I want to do. Okay? I want to spend an hour on Tim Pool versus Sam Seder. And then I want to spend an hour and a half on life-destroying diagrams. We cool with that? What do we feel about that? Chat. Unless you have better suggestions. Tucker Carlson was mauled by a demon? What the hell?
Do you think...
What the what?
I think the presence of evil is kickstarting people to wonder about the good.
That's what happened to me.
That's what happened to you?
Oh yeah, I had a direct experience with it.
In the milieu of journalism, or just?
Nope, in my bed at night, and I got attacked while I was asleep with my wife and 4 dogs in the bed and mauled. Physically mauled.
In a spiritual attack by a demon?
Yeah, by a demon. Or by something
And he's dead now. I shot him.
unseen that left
Is that right?
claw marks on my sides, on my...
So it left physical mark.
Oh, they're still there. Yeah.
This is like something out of a Wes Anderson movie.
A half ago.
Was your wife terrified? I know you were.
I wasn't. I was totally confused. I woke up and I was...
Terrified me, I am Tucker Carlson, sir. Frightened by a demon.
Couldn't breathe, and I thought I was going to suffocate, and I walked around outside, and then I walked in, and my wife and dogs had not woken up, and they're very light sleepers. And then I had these terrible pains on my rib cage and on my shoulder, and I was
And that's when I realized the demon had gotten inside. So I pulled out my trusty knife. And I did what needed
done. On
done.
the light in the bathroom, and I had 4 claw marks on either side underneath my arms and on my left shoulder, and they're bleeding.
Wait, they were bleeding?
They're bleeding, yeah. No, they're actual claw marks. And I sleep on my side, so I wasn't clawing myself. I don't have long nails.
Well, not anymore.
And they didn't fit my hands anyway. But yeah, that happened. So I'm not from a world where things like that happen. I never heard of anything like that happening before. I had no idea what that was. I knew it was spiritual immediately.
You
Got
did?
back from the gay bathhouse and people were a little too excited, and he had to explain it to his wife, who was still asleep.
Okay, that was going to be my question.
Yeah.
That's what my money's on.
I don't understand to this day. I'm not going to put it
You
more.
you didn't try to refute the spiritual part in your own mind. You went right into the
Well, it didn't
idea.
make any sense, and it doesn't now. But I'm not from a, what do they call it, faith tradition that talks about things like that or even acknowledges their existence. Like, there's nothing like that. I've never heard anybody say anything like that in my whole life.
What was the next
He's making it up, that's it. No, Brooks. I believe him. I think there's something to this.
day like?
Well, the next morning I woke up and I thought that was the weirdest dream I've ever had. And then I saw blood on my sheets and I realized that was not a dream at all. So I called my assistant, who was like the only evangelical Christian I know, well enough to call with something bizarre like that, totally bizarre like that. And she said, oh yeah, no, that happens. Yeah, people are attacked in their bed by demons. What? What are you even
Oh, look, the demon's coming out now.
talking about? Yeah. So, I'm not leaving anything out. And
Okay. Let's think about this for a second. You wake up, you got animal claw marks on your back, okay? Your wife's asleep. Nobody's been woken up. You got 2 choices. Actually, you got 3 choices. You scratch yourself in your sleep. Your dog scratched you in your sleep. Or it was a demon. And you can tell it's a demon, of course, because they're demon claw marks. They've got that demonic shape, right? We all know what those look like.
and I'm not pretending to understand that. I can only say what happened to me, and that did happen to me. And then I was seized with this very
chat,
intense desire.
Vote, okay? What do we have? What are their actual emojis here? Okay, look. Vote with chaos. Okay, vote with put the chaos emote, chaos theory emote. If you think it was the dog, and put the tentacle if you think it's a demon. Okay. Jeff Goldblum. If it's the dog, tentacle if it's the demon. Vote.
To read the Bible, which I then started without any study aids or anything. I bought a Bible that didn't have any. I'm not interested in editorializing in the Bible. I just want to read it and see what's in there myself. I have very low levels of trust for Christian pastors, most of whom, I'm just not a fan at all. And sorry to say that, but that's how I feel. And so I don't want to hear other people's opinions. I just want to see what's in there. And so I spent 1.5 years reading it, and then I started rereading it. And it was just a transformative experience for me, but I'm not, holding myself out as someone from whom...
Just FYI, if you read the Bible, you will not find examples of demons clawing people in their sleep. Just so you know, okay? They went ahead so you don't have to. Doesn't happen. It's not a thing.
You could get theological advice because I'm
Sure,
not.
of course.
I don't...
Oh, and reminder, By the way, chat, Vampiro Toothus Infernalis reading in the Discord server in 20 minutes tonight. So 20 minutes from now, they're going to be talking about Vampiro Toothus Infernalis by Flusser, a very interesting philosophy book about squids. So if that floats your boat, you will not be missed, traders.
No, I don't understand any of it. But yeah, that happened.
God
to me.
allowed the demon?
I have no idea what happened. All I know is I was dead asleep with my wife and dogs, and I woke up with claw marks on my rib cage.
You know, if God allowed the demon, that means you're not on the side of God, friendo. Just FYI, that's how that works.
Beneath my arms, and it didn't even make sense. My arms would, anyway, whatever. I'm not, no one has to believe me. I don't care.
It doesn't matter.
But that happened to me, and so I just was like, wow, that's real. Whatever that is, I'm even not sure what it is.
It's
but
very real. And so then that presence of that evil launches something.
It launches something. Okay. Why is it like red and white like that? Look at this. Look at this title. It's like Christianit is movie. Christianit is movie.com. It's like he'd write the speech from the dream sequence in the Red Room from Twin Peaks. One more for the road.
Absolutely.
Going along with what they're saying.
All right. Sam Seder versus Tim Pool. Got that ready. Okay, here we go. Come on. Hey. I hate how you can't. Look at this. I hate this so much. Watch.
Sam Seder, welcome to...
If I try to click the timeline and click it at the very end, oh, it just disappears. Can't do it anymore. Can't click that. No, too late. Why? Why, YouTube? The timeline goes here. Why can't I click the timeline over here, YouTube? Why would you do this? Why do you hate people using your site? Why can't you operate like a normal website?
The show.
Oh, thank you.
That's a good one. I like it. He's got his own beanie.
Govin, thank you for the 5 gifted memberships. Much appreciated.
That's right.
20 years?
What's that?
20 years? Is that
20-year anniversary? This is actually a gift for you.
Oh, right on.
There you go.
Yeah. I'll put it on
Yeah.
No, put it on. Put it on now. Let us see your bald, shiny head.
put it on the shelf. See all like the weird knickknacks that I have?
Yeah. Well, that's actually for your baby.
Oh, thank you very much.
Congratulations. I understand that you're expecting. Is that right?
Oh, dear Lord, that poor child.
Absolutely. Yeah. Nervous.
I hope you're getting sleep.
Oh, I think I got 6 hours tonight.
Well, I'm
better than
saying, is your baby born already?
No.
Oh,
Coming soon.
I'm talking about when your child comes.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, what little sleep I already get probably will be less.
All right. Well, there you go.
Right on, man. So we'll start light. What do you think is going to happen? I mean, the election is Tuesday, but people are already voting.
No, wait. We got to talk about what am I doing here?
Well, sure. I was going to start
Light?
light, but you can go with whatever you want.
No, I mean, it's light to me, but like what? I thought I was banned. Didn't you say I was banned and blacklisted?
Maybe I don't know the specifics. You have to. There's something to that effect.
Well, I can send you a link. But I got I teed it up here.
It's hard for me to remember verbatim
And Govin, thank you for the membership.
everything I said, but
Let's see what do we got here?
I would say.
Oh, I mean, you pretty specifically banned.
Did I say no Sam Seder at all?
Well, I think so. Here, wait a second.
Trouble. Sam Seder's blacklisted by a lot of podcasts.
Yeah. I don't. Did I say us?
I'm not exaggerating. This is not a joke. Yes, there are many large podcasts that have outright said they will never work with him, and has nothing to do with being afraid to debate him. Sam Seder's off the list. This guy is a manipulative, lying con man.
I mean, that's pretty strong stuff.
My confusion comes from, did I say I would never have you on?
I don't have anything to do with him. And that's why Sam Seder makes all these videos, and he focuses on drama. I mean, the man's obsession with Dave Rubin is laughable.
I agree with that to this day.
Oh no, I actually I have a
did I say
real reason for that?
Did I say?
Yeah, of course.
I say I would never bring you on?
Oh yeah, you did.
Okay, I might have.
I mean, I don't know if I have that specific video teed up. I might though.
I
this is
may
so
have.
good.
I usually, if I get like heated or something, but I tend not to be as definitive on things like this.
Well, it wasn't just that one time too. When you went on Patrick Bet-David's show, you said the same thing.
I love how so cool and just unfazed he is. Oh my god. It's such a smooth delivery of all of this.
Well, but you know it's true.
What's true?
Like he's look at the tension of this guy's face. Pool is filled with regret. He's filled with regret and very little hair.
There are a lot of big shows that have blacklisted you.
Oh, I have no doubt. I have no doubt.
It's not about you, nobody wanting to debate you. I mean, the first thing I asked was like, let's talk about the issues, and you immediately pulled up drama. That's
it's not drama. I mean, I think everybody wants to know. It's like a weird. You know, if you, I used to be a script writer, and if you put a loaded gun in the first scene and you don't resolve it,
why are you being so mean to me when I invited you to my compound?
People are going to be distracted. So this way we can just deal with this, get that out of the way, and then move on to stuff that is more, I think, like substantive.
Yeah. But that's it, right? It's not my business to tell.
Sam is in full father mode. Sam is mocking Tim already. Look, imagine, if you will, being as wealthy and successful as Tim Pool. Like extraordinary, okay? And you still look like Xanderhal. I mean, that's kind of puts things into perspective, doesn't it?
Other shows that have brought it up, but
I'm not concerned about other shows. I know what. I'm just curious. What am I doing here?
What are you doing here?
Yeah,
well, I decided to have you on. I don't know. I figured there were probably misconceptions you had about me. I think that a lot of what you think about what I say comes from clips and not the actual show. So there's like.
I don't really have conceptions of you.
This started because you said something that was untrue about my position on the death penalty. And I was like, I think Sam saw a clip that someone pulled out of context and didn't actually hear like my 2-hour diatribe on death penalty.
I don't. I think actually what I was talking about, I don't think I ever said whether you believe in the death penalty or not. I mean,
you cited a quote where you said that I said something like,
I cited a quote, or did I play a video
at the beginning of a video? Tim Pool agrees that people who commit treason should get the death penalty, which is
that right? Do you have the video? You must have the video. No. Oh, wait a second.
And I just went, holy crap! And
let me see if I got it, because I'm pretty sure I remember this. It was in the context of you suing Kamala Harris.
And so,
you were on with Laura Loomer.
Right.
And you said the words.
Here we go.
People who get the death penalty, people who commit treason should get the death penalty.
What's the context of that sentence?
What's the context of that sentence?
Right. So there's a clip that's 5 seconds long.
Oh, no, but I watched the whole rest of it. Like, I know you went back and forth, but it was so weird, because you should really, if you can find this and put this up, because what I found fascinating about it was that you literally did say on multiple times in that going back and forth, because apparently what happened is you got in trouble at one point with, I don't know.
Tim has said that he is intentionally inconsistent on the positions he takes. In my experience, people who put up the shield of saying that they are intentionally inconsistent or they are intentionally dishonest or what have you, usually aren't, and that is a cope in the moment. Why? Because they don't actually want to lose the credibility of being somebody who actually has something to say and someone who actually can be taken seriously, because they do still have pride. Not dignity, but pride. So, generally when someone says that, they're bullshitting. They just want to look cool while they're contradicting themselves because they were weak and they didn't think through what they were doing.
Some streaming service about people calling for the death penalty or whatever it was. I don't know the background of that.
YouTube says you can't call for the death penalty as a legal mechanism.
Where's the value in trumpeting inconsistency in your viewpoints anyway? Because then when you're caught in inconsistencies, because you're stupid, and spinning a consistent yarn takes effort and intelligence, which are things Tim does not have in abundance, you can still look cool. That's why.
Okay. And
when you fail to do that, I don't know if I finished that sentence correctly.
So she brought up, I think these people committed treason. They should get the death penalty. And you said,
well, I don't know if she said, I think she
I
said,
don't care what she said, really, for this sake. But I'm quite sure you said, if you commit treason, you should get the death penalty.
Now,
right now,
what words are you missing from that sentence? Because it sounds like you just heard a clip.
No. I watched the whole thing.
Okay, well then,
and
why
then
are you,
at one point afterwards,
let's pause. Let's pause. We'll break this down. We'll break this down.
Sure.
Is it currently codified in law that if you commit treason, you are out? The penalty is death.
What do you mean by codified?
Like, is U.S. law states that the penalty for treason is death?
Not necessarily, but it is one.
It is right. The penalty for treason is death.
What is the penalty for murder?
It varies. It can
right.
Be,
it can be.
So the penalty for treason is not death. Death can be the penalty for treason. Difference. Death is not the penalty for treason.
Death penalty.
Exactly.
Right? So it's the exact same dynamic as treason.
Yes. So if we're talking about, in that context, people levying war against the United States, to which I said, I don't believe any of these people committed treason.
Correct.
Sedition would be trying to undermine or cause damage to the government.
Correct.
Treason,
that's not the issue.
Right. And so the context of that conversation is, one, I don't agree with the death penalty. And in no circumstances.
But you did say the words, if you committed treason, you should get the death penalty.
Okay. So once again, do you not understand?
Would you agree if someone commits murder, they should get the death penalty?
No.
The death penalty.
I agree with that.
Right.
But you did say if they commit treason, they should get the death penalty.
So if we're talking.
So if you murder someone, you shouldn't get the death penalty. But if you... This is a bold position for Tim Pool to take. This is a very bold position for Tim Pool to take. What was, hang on. This was very recent, wasn't it? This was last month. Remember this? Who's on the front page here? Russian right-wing influencers say they were dupes in an alleged Russian influence operation. They're keeping their millions for them. I would not personally, if I was in Tim Pool's position, be advocating for the death penalty for treason. That strikes me as a bold move.
About the penalty for levying war against a country, whether you want it to or not. If a judge sentences someone to death, should they get the death penalty?
If a judge, I don't think people should get the death penalty under any circumstances.
If someone is shooting at another person, should they be shot at and killed?
If someone's shooting at another person, should they be shot at and killed?
If someone is committing an act of violence and actively, is it within the legal rights of a person to return with lethal force?
You mean self-defense?
Yes. Oh, yeah, and he did. That's right. It's coming back to me now. And Tim Pool actually said he was probably going to end the show after the funds were withdrawn. Right.
I think so, yeah.
Right now, whether you want it to or not, if someone robs a liquor store, should they go to jail?
Should they go to jail?
Under the current laws, regardless of your opinions, should the police arrest the person?
Should the people arrest the person for robbing a liquor store?
Yes.
I mean, I think they should, yes.
Do you think in literally every single circumstance, then, no matter what happens, if someone commits a robbery, they should be arrested?
I mean, I suppose there could be extenuating circumstances, but yes, if you commit a crime, you should be arrested.
So the clarification that I'm trying to make, it's not about, I don't think there's any real reason to try and go back and parse semantics. The concept was, if people are levying war against the United States, such as we're on the battlefield somewhere in Iraq or whatever, right?
Wait, this whole thing was about treason, where you were saying that.
Do you want me to explain the ideas, or do you want to just go in circles? I don't understand.
Well, I want you just to address what I'm talking about.
I'm trying to.
Instead of talking about war. Me. All right, go ahead, please.
Treason is levying war.
Treason.
Treason is levying war? I'm not a military expert. I don't know if that's a term. Am I stupid? Is that treason is levying war? Dictionary.com, okay? Let us learn together. To impose a tax, fee, or fine on. That's to levy. To seize, to satisfy a legal judgment, to levy. There were no goods to levy upon. Or archaic, to enlist someone for military service, to levy. Or to begin to wage war. They began to levy war upon the king. So, treason is levying war? What? That is, I've never heard that expression before. Am I... Seriously, chat, am I dumb? Is that a term? Treason is levying for war? Yeah, you levy troops, yeah. Or you take the Chevy to the levee, but the levee's dry. But treason is levying for war?
Is levying war?
Or providing aid to the enemy of the United States in a time of war.
Well, it also, you can be, I mean, there's been people who have been charged with treason when we're not in an active war, but
okay,
yes,
good, I didn't close everything.
I guess. I mean, but however you want to parse this, treason is a legal charge against somebody, and there are multiple potential penalties for that, one of which includes capital punishment. And
like, does he mean treason is like an individual act of war upon the state to which one belongs? Because that would make sense. Sorry, Article 3. Treason against the United States shall consist only in levying war against them or in adhering to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort. Right. Okay, here we go. In levying war against them and adhering to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort. Okay. So that's what that means. What did he say again? Let's go back.
Well, it all treason is levying war
or providing aid to the enemy of the United States.
Address what I'm talking about.
I'm trying
instead of talking about war. All right, go ahead, please.
Treason is levying war.
No, treason is levying war against the United States. That against the United States. It's not just levying war. It's levying war against your country. That's why it's confusing. Okay.
This treason is a legal.
I copy pasted Tim Pool's reading the words without thinking about what they mean. Yeah, like he's saying levying war, like that explains it. But it's levying war against the United States. See, that makes sense. Levying war against them, referring to the states, makes sense. Treason is levying war does not make sense. It's exactly. It's betrayal. It's an act of war. So what I said, it's like it's an act of war against your country. That's treason. Essentially, aiding an enemy against your country or acting as an enemy of your country is treason.
Charge against somebody, and there are multiple potential penalties for that, one of which includes capital punishment. And
just for the sake of clarity, because in the show we're not talking about specifics of someone may or may not be wrongly charged. If you're asking me why I would say something like should be, it's rooted in this. Treason against the United States shall consist only in levying war against them or in adhering to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort. No person shall be convicted of treason unless on the testimony of two witnesses of the same overt act or confession in open court. So the issue at hand was when we were talking and I said, I don't think any of these people committed treason. I don't think anything they've done is worthy of death. I don't agree with the death penalty. The return is, but what if they're levying war against us? And then someone decides their life should be forfeit.
I watched that video. And in fact, I remember this now, actually. We were going over the ridiculousness of your lawsuit. And I said, you know, Tim says he doesn't agree with the death penalty. That's fine. And then they played more where you say, if you've committed treason, you should get the death penalty. I mean, and the interesting thing is, then I watched, hold on, but let me finish. And
do you want to do a drama circle jerk, or do you want to actually talk about the ideas of the death penalty and what should or should not happen?
No, I think
he's so tense. You could just Sam Seder's actually here, despite all of the shit that Tim Pool has flung at him, despite being the small fry in the room by comparison in terms of overall viewership. And he's just chill. He's just having a fun conversation. This guy's he's so tense. There is nothing at stake for him. Well, actually there is, because he's a historic liar, but he could just shoot the shit. It could be great. They could just have a back and forth and laugh about it. It's even on his own turf. He's in his compound. Sam Seder is surrounded by people who could kill him. Okay, take note. Tim will use this several times. I am not surprised. By the way, I've been reminded on two things. First of all, Vampira Tutus Infernalis in the server. It's a philosophy reading, a weird philosophy reading that's worth going through. It's starting basically now. They are doing a reading group about that. If you've read the book, go in and have a chat. If you haven't read the book, please go in and listen quietly. But you are welcome to. Also, we are playing a little game on this channel. Gempt has not yet gotten a membership. And we've received about 300 memberships attempting to get Gempt hit with a membership. Okay? He's still not there. Whoever donates a membership, the membership that gets Gempt, J-E-M-T, one of my blue wrenches, whoever donates that membership gets to pick one product from my channel store, and I will lower the value of that product as low as I can before it costs any money, okay? Before it costs me money personally. We have cardigans, we have bikinis, we have mugs, etc. Thank you, Insomniwar, for the 20 gifted memberships, and thank you, NJade, for the 10 gifted memberships. Let's see if Gempt got it.
I personally am against the death penalty. I think you are maybe against the death penalty.
I'm 100% against death penalty.
But what I found fascinating, it was as if you watch that video as it goes further along, and maybe you can release it. I don't know if it's behind a paywall or what. I watched it somewhere, so I know it exists.
No, we still haven't gotten Gempt. Edward Gray, thank you for the 10 gifted memberships.
Maybe it was on Rumble. And if you go along, it's almost like you catch yourself and you realize, wait a second, I'm against the death penalty. So, no, you shouldn't get capital punishment. And that's one of the things that I think, in terms of, that I have always found fascinating about you. And that there was actually a great video by Timba Toast on how you vacillate between different political ideas as a way of, maintaining a certain brand.
What is the brand?
Well, I'm not exactly sure what you think the brand is, but
here's the challenge. Here's the challenge. You know, if I post a joke on X that is over the top, for instance, I tweeted Kamala Harris is like Hitler and Stalin times 200, and she's gonna start 800 wars. That was actually written about in various liberal outlets as if it was a fact statement. And so I'm sitting here.
Damn, Gempt still missed it. How? Look, I'll show proof, by the way. I'll show actual proof that Gempt has it turned on. Okay, look. This is Gempt's channel. Gempt had gifts turned on, okay? It's there. This is real. You can do it. But he's dodging them like Neo dodging bullets.
Being can they not tell? Well, there's Poe's law. I get it. Sometimes they don't. But the issue at hand right now is just semantics. So instead of saying well,
dude, we're in the communication business. Our words are important. Now, listen, sure. I certainly understand people misinterpreting a tweet. Believe me, I've been there.
I will just say this for the sake of clarity. Right now, regardless of my opinions on law, should the law be that someone will receive the death penalty, then they should receive it. will just say this for the sake of clarity. Right now, regardless of my opinions on law, should the law be that someone will receive the death penalty, then they should receive it.
Should the law be that if someone were to receive the death penalty, then they should receive it? What the fuck is he saying?
I will just say this for the sake of clarity. Right now, regardless of my opinions on law, should
regardless of my opinions on law
be
should the law be
someone will receive the death penalty,
that someone were to receive the death penalty,
then they should receive it.
Then they should receive it. Did I have a stroke? I swear, am I actually like, did I just have an aneurysm? What the fuck did he just say?
I will just say this for the sake of clarity.
For the sake of clarity.
Right now, regardless of my opinions on law, should the law be
that
someone will receive the death penalty,
then
they should receive it.
So, should the law... This is how people die. My head's just going to... Something is just going to explode in my brain. So if the law is that someone should receive the death penalty, should they receive the death penalty? So he's just saying, should the law be enforced? What's the point? Just ask the question, like, should the law be that someone should receive the death penalty? That's a meaningful question. Should the law be enforced is a separate question. Schadenfrieda Kahlo, thank you for the 10 gifted memberships. Did we get jumped? We did not. But how?
I oppose it.
But it doesn't necessarily...
and Angry Bear, thank you for the 5 gifted memberships.
Treason, the punishment for treason is not necessarily the death penalty any more than it is with murder.
All right, so let's just try and...
Why would you ever say, if you're against death penalty...
Once again, misconception I'm trying to get past, so let me explain.
Okay.
In the circumstance where someone has committed a death-worthy trespass, I oppose the death penalty.
Sunday sent you a bit about how you feel watching your own time. Okay.
I would advocate against it. We recently had a big case where there were 2 instances where people were put to death. One guy, the family even said it shouldn't happen.
He sent me a Lewis Blackskin. I've seen that. Anyway, thank you.
Had to deal with the prosecutor. It still happened. And that was, I believe it was, who was that? That was Missouri.
Who was Jempt, who says nope. How on earth? You guys are terrible shots. We're at 70 new members, and nobody's hit Jempt yet. Remember, whoever hits Jempt with a membership, whoever donates a membership and it goes to Jempt, you get to choose one product from the store, and I will lower that price down to as low as it will allow me to do, okay?
And a lot of the people who watch my show were quite outraged that a family would say no. But the issue at hand is I don't assert myself over the rest of the country in law, which means if the mechanism of the courts is as such, that's what should happen. I will fight against.
People hear that they will get a 30% discount on a $70 clothing item and they drop $50 to earn it. Well, not just them, everybody does. That's the thing. I'm going to leave it like that till the end of November, okay? Whatever product you choose. I want to see everybody wearing really low-cost President's Sunday cardigans, all right? I want you all to be as beautiful as me.
The semantic misunderstanding.
Oh, all right.
Let's just put it like this.
Because you were so offended. I mean, the reason why I thought I was here was because you were so offended that I said you were against the death penalty.
You said I was for it.
And I got confused when you said someone should get the death penalty
under a mechanism of law that I oppose.
Well, you never said those words.
But that was the whole conversation.
No, actually it wasn't.
Literally was.
We could play it.
But I mean, look. How about we just, instead of going back and forth and saying it was this show where these things were said, we lay it out on the table. There it is.
Okay, there.
Death penalty should be opposed.
We agree.
Why is Tim's
government is a failed?
Why is Tim's framing of this like the framing of the show is so bad? Like he's sidelined on his own show. Like he's not center camera. He looks like an afterthought on his own show. Like why is he there to make room for this thing? To make room for his plugs, so you can see his plugs? You've got a whole freaking compound. Why are you in the corner of your own camera?
arbiter of who should live or die. This mechanism doesn't work at an institutional level.
I don't know that anybody is a arbiter of who should live or die, but yes.
Excuse me.
Excuse me.
There is some context that is more challenging, such as if a man pointed a weapon at your children, would you decide that he should die?
I mean,
Well, no, he probably wouldn't decide that he should die. He'd probably, if he had a weapon of his own, he'd probably try to fire first. But that's not deciding that he will die. That's self-defense. There's a difference. When we're talking about the death penalty, we're talking about administering death to somebody who's under your power.
If someone pointed a weapon at my children, I would attempt to do whatever I needed to do to stop them. But that's different than
including lethal force.
I mean, if that's what
not
it
the death
took,
penalty.
of course.
You're not engaging in self-defense or defense of somebody else in an imminent way by putting somebody into a room with a bunch of guards around them and giving them a lethal injection. That's not what that is.
Of course.
So that is you making the decision that you will take action which may lead to the death of an individual.
Yeah, but that's not the death penalty. That's very stupid, Tim.
Oh yeah, I mean
That's not. First of all, it's not a penalty. That's you say in this instant that the only way out is to do violence to the person who is the threat. That's not a death penalty. That's not a punishment. You're not rewarding the person for their evil deeds. You're using whatever tools at your disposal, which happen to be limited to the lethal in your judgment, in order to save yourself or somebody you care about or something you care about, etc.
I would suffer the consequences, but I don't believe in general that that in capital punishment. I mean, that's not capital punishment. That's
I agree. I'm just saying
self-defense or
in certain circumstances, a person will decide someone may be about to die. So? And there's other issues, of course, like whether to render medical aid is a different circumstance. If someone is already dying, then there's if someone is in peril but you can't save them. But in terms of a human being making an active decision to end someone's life, there are many circumstances where someone will decide that they are the arbiter of that decision. Police officers do it every day. Soldiers do it every day, and often regular people. We have the Penny trial in New York right now, where they've got the trial going on for the Daniel Penny in New York, where he put that guy in the chokehold. And the guy died. He made that decision at that point.
He killed the guy.
He did. And he made that decision for whatever reason. I am going to apply this technique to this.
Yeah, he murdered the guy. A guy was acting out on a bus, and some gung-ho fucking moron decided it'd be really cool if he just grabbed him around the neck and just held him in a chokehold until he was immobile, and then continued to hold him while other people around him told him to stop. It's fucking real.
May result in death. So at a certain point, someone makes that choice.
Like he murdered him. He didn't kill him. He murdered him, just to be clear.
And then is, do we agree that the choice was necessary or that they were backed into a corner? And that's a difficult decision. So I would just put it this way. I think in a perfect world...
This has nothing to do with capital punishment, though.
It's about whether someone chooses someone else should die.
Yeah, but that's not capital punishment, Tim.
Right, but that has nothing to do with capital punishment.
You mean it has nothing to do with capital punishment, Sam? Don't people decide to kill people in capital punishment?
Capital punishment is definitionally
a
a punishment that is put out by the government, as opposed to, an individual's decision as to whether or not they're going to apply lethal force to somebody. It has nothing to do with it. You would never say...
Is it possible to just buy Gem to sub? I would if I could, but alas, it is not. It's not. Gem is still unsubscribed somehow. 70 new subs today, and he still dodged every single one. It's insane.
Literally,
that Penny provided capital punishment to that guy on the subway because
I was making that argument.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It has nothing to do with it.
They were never backed into a corner. They had all the opportunity to de-escalate and cease killing the guy on the subway. Penny just straight up murdered the guy, yeah.
Capital punishment.
Just in the sense that someone's making a decision over someone's death. And the question being, in the case of self-defense, I agree there are circumstances. And in the case of capital punishment, I agree there are no circumstances.
Okay.
I don't believe there's a reality where the government has successfully subdued an individual who they are no longer a threat, and then they just decide 20 years later, now let's kill the person. That makes no sense to me.
Yeah, I know. I agree. I do not believe that we should have capital punishment. I do not believe in the death penalty.
How do we stop it?
Well, I mean, there have been times in the past where we've come close, I think. Sadly, I think because of all of the ginned up stuff about crime in this country over the past couple of years, I think we're moving in the wrong direction. I think the Democrats actually took it out of their platform this year that they're against the capital punishment. It is a problem. There is a cost associated with the attempts to scare people about crime in this country, and that's one of the costs, that we move further away from some type of positive public policy.
4% of death row inmates are likely innocent. And that means at an institutional level, people in this country accept 4 in 100 people will be murdered by the state, unjustly killed for a sense of security. I reject that outright.
Yeah, I mean, I think both in terms of efficacy, but even in terms of, I think if you feel that there is a situation where without a threat to anybody, right? I mean, these people are all in jail, that there is a justification to kill someone in cold blood, then I think it just becomes a negotiation as to when it's not.
You know what really gets me too is what I hear from a lot of people is, what about when you've seen on video they're harming a child or they're doing something? And it's funny because in a circumstance where an individual literally witnesses a crime happening, it's easy to say, sure, we can, like if you're out in public and you see someone committing an egregious crime that is going to cause great bodily harm or death. But why does that justify an institutional, national level mechanism by which the government can decide that someone dies? I think it comes down to 12 people walk into a room, someone they've never met before points to a person they've never met and they say, trust me, kill him. And these people are like, well, I guess. I think that's insanity.
No, I agree. Yeah. I mean, you brought up the Penny thing, and I think that's why it's even that much more egregious, in my opinion, his killing of that man, because I don't believe in that situation there was any type of threat that justified holding this guy in a chokehold for that many minutes at all, frankly.
Is he going to defend this now? I actually liked that he was virtue signaling against the death penalty, but I think he's going to defend the killing now. Because what was his take on the strangling of the guy in the subway? Does anyone remember? I can't remember. I guarantee you he's going to defend it.
Matter.
What do you think, the penalty should be? Like, do you think, they're charging him, I think, with negligent? Is it negligent homicide? I'm not sure.
No, he's ignoring it. Good.
Or
at the very least, I would imagine manslaughter. But
he successfully made everyone forget the treason issue. Yes, he has.
Generally,
he defended it. Yeah, I thought he defended it.
As a rule, I don't.
He couldn't survive not defending it. He would turn too many people off who just really, really want heroic ex-military guys murdering black civilians.
I don't really parse out court cases. I mean, if there's a charge, as a matter of public policy, there are instances where I think that people should be charged. But beyond that, then I just, I didn't even watch the OJ trial.
I'm curious about your thoughts on this story. This is from NBC News from 2021. Police say riders didn't help woman raped on train because of the bystander effect. Explain why.
Well, because somebody didn't get up and murder somebody. That's why, Tim, of course.
Does the bystander effect explain why? Philadelphia police said riders did not...
This has nothing to do whatsoever with the death penalty. At all. Nothing at all.
Call 911 instead held their cell phones up in direction of the assault. In a circumstance like this was a huge story. 40 minutes, a woman was harassed by a stranger on a public train and then raped while bystanders just watched. What would you do? What do you think a person should do in a circumstance like that?
At the very least, I would call 911.
That's correct. Yeah, right. Nobody did.
And over the course of 40 minutes, I'm not familiar with this story, but if I watched someone being assaulted,
raped,
and then or raped,
yeah,
yes, I would intervene. I would push that person away. I would attempt to stop them from raping that person.
I think anybody should.
What has that got to do with this?
Well, we've got
That's
two
the
extremes,
million-dollar
I suppose,
question.
right? With Neely, you've got a woman who said that she felt like her life was in danger. As one of the witnesses.
Well, we've seen that. I mean, there were people all around there.
She felt like her life was in danger, so somebody else had to strangle the person for 10 minutes. Or however long it was till he was dead. Someone else feeling that their life is in danger because somebody's acting spooky does not actually license an additional person to grab that person around the throat from behind and then hold them down until they die. That's not how this works. Okay, if there's somebody exhibiting some kind of mental illness on a bus or on a train or whatever, and they are making you feel uncomfortable or even scared, that is not license for you to murder them. It's not license for somebody else to murder them either. This is insanity. This is pure insanity. And it has nothing to do with the death penalty. Because here's the crucial part about the death penalty. The death penalty is administered by some rightful body with authority. Some rando on the bus who kills a guy doesn't have that judgment call. So it's up to somebody else to judge whether or not their reaction to that thing was reasonable or not. Therefore, that's not a penalty or a punishment. That's just an interference. If it is a penalty or punishment, that's vigilante justice. That's against the law.
And the idea that she felt like her life was in danger, I mean, she's not communicating that to the guy, to Neely. B,
she said
it was quite clear. It was quite clear.
So what? She says she felt in danger. It doesn't matter what she feels. It doesn't matter what she feels. That is not a basis for somebody else who doesn't feel that killing the guy. That's not an excuse for excessive force or for holding down the person in a chokehold after they've stopped moving and people are telling you to stop until they're dead. Like, none of this matters.
That, I don't know, minute 2.
Gab, thank you for the incredibly generous 50 gifted memberships. We have to cash Gemp now. That'd be obscene if we didn't cash Gemp now. Come on.
3, minute 4, that...
And for the additional 50 gifted memberships, Gab. That's insane. Thank you very much.
Person is not going to end up killing
this has to be it. Okay, guys, I'm calling it now, okay? If this doesn't hit Gempt, for the additional 50 gifted memberships, thank you, Gab. If this doesn't hit Gempt, guys, then there is some evil in this land diverting the path of these donations.
I would imagine that if this guy attempted to assault her anymore, Neely could have pushed him away, or they could have held them down. But a chokehold is a lethal thing, and he held it for minutes.
Do you think that you would wait until the woman was being raped before you would intervene?
What?
Probably not.
But how would you know then if the guy is like a threat unless he's actively committing harm?
Well, because the thing about rape, Tim, is that unlike other forms of sexual assault, it's kind of involved. You know, this is a very... It's not an easy thing to do subtly in public. I conjecture.
Well, I mean, if he's like...
Yes, and good member Sunday. Yeah, see, that's what Xanderhal did wrong. Xanderhal went for quantity by leeching off of other communities instead of quality. I got quality audience members.
Actively committing harm, there's I would assume, I'm not familiar with that story, but I would assume that it would start out.
Oh my God, Gemp still hasn't been caught yet. There's 150 going out there, okay? So we're not done yet. They're still processing. I'm scared if it doesn't work. I'm legitimately scared if we don't catch Gemp this time.
The guy is physically assaulting her, holding her down or whatnot. And I think at that point I would go and intervene. But I think the problem in this instance, and again, the guy's been charged. That's basically where my interest, I move on to other things. But in an instance where you're putting someone in a chokehold, which again, he's trained. He's a Marine,
right?
Yeah, he must know this is a lethal thing. you know, you're putting someone in a chokehold for 5 or 6 minutes. I think that's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I have no idea. You know, I see both stories, and it seems like they're both on the ends, right? Jordan Neely didn't do anything. People may have claimed they have felt threatened. In this regard, it's a woman who was quite literally raped. In one instance, you have intervention.
Well, people aren't even calling 911. I mean, I don't know what's going on there. Yeah, that's absurd.
I know, it's a crazy story.
I think, you know, I don't think you have to have too nimble or nuanced of a brain to say there's a difference between watching someone get raped and not calling 911.
Okay, here's an example, okay? Look, you see somebody getting raped on a bus, intervene, okay? You wall up that motherfucker. However, after you've done so, you are not licensed to put your arm around their neck and execute them. For me, this seems pretty obvious. Sunday, the news story is proven false, by the way. Really, can you link me that? It doesn't matter, like, the hypothetical still stands. Oh, did we get jumped? Did we get jumped? Did we get jumped?
And
did we do it? Wait, what? It is done. Gab. You did it. At what weird cost, but you did it. Oh my god. Okay, express your appreciation, chat, by spamming the chat with tentacles. Spam. Tentacles of spam. Spam tentacles of spam. I want to see nothing but purple fingers in the chat. As far as the eye can see. Fatan, brethren. Gab gets discount bikini. Gab, pick which product on the store am I discounting radically. Which one? You must choose. As the discount, I choose a survey so the people in chat can choose which one to discount. I will honor that. A survey it is. All right? Okay. Options. Which President Sunday product shall be discounted? And Convenient Estelle, thank you for the $5. Hooray for Gempt. By the way, have you checked out Xanderhal? Not yet, but I should. Let us say let me open up the products very quickly. Let's take a look here, okay? All right, so if I go here, we can look at this together. So if we go here to the store page, right here, we have a list of things. And you know what? I'm going to say we're definitely going to put the Burgundy and Bone. Burgundy and Bone is definitely going up there. Burgundy and Bone cardigan. The classic Theory Squid cardigan. That's this dark one down here. The President's Sunday bikini, which you cannot see. And last but not least, the mug. All right, here, let me actually see if I can open this without exposing my personal information very quickly. So if I go into the store, home. Ah, perfect, perfect. Here we go. Okay, chat. These are the cardigans. Burgundy and Bone. That's the cardigan that's gone up for one of them. This is the President's Sunday bikini. Oh, I should put the apron up. That's it. That's it. The Squiddleton apron. Okay. By the way, I've actually seen these. They are actually pretty high quality. They're all pretty good. Okay. So we have the official President's Sunday bikini the Chef Squiddleton apron, the burgundy and bone cardigan, and the... Where's the classic Theory Squid cardigan? Where are you? Okay, and you've seen that already, okay? We got 2 cardigans. We got the President's Sunday bikini. And we have the Squiddleton apron. All right. The poll is up. Choose. We'll let that go till the end of the segment.
And putting someone in a chokehold for 6 minutes, I feel like there's a...
You can at least call 911.
Yeah,
That's
these
crazy.
are pretty wide disparities. This is not, you know...
That's what I mean, like on the extreme ends.
Right.
You get these stories where it's no intervention to the extreme degree, and then...
By the way, once again, the fabric on all these is actually very good. It's very nice.
Intervention to a person's death.
Right.
And it's like maybe we don't see the stories of any kind of in-between because they're not sensational, right? Like, I'm sure something happened on a train recently in New York where someone, like the guy was getting violent, he got shoved, everything stopped. You know what I mean? No one, NBC News is never going to carry the story.
No.
Because there's nothing extreme about it. And so we only ever get these edge cases which put people on one side or the other.
Yeah, I mean, you know, stuff happens in the subway all the time.
New York's been getting pretty wild. I suppose it's relative to the amount of crime, but...
Been getting wild in what way?
There were, I think, last year, like 25 people were pushed in front of trains?
I mean, I can tell you that crime in New York City is, down still around historic lows. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm old, so I remember New York in the late 80s. And, it's...
Wow.
It's like
3 years ago. Sorry, I was wrong. Yeah, it was in 2022. I think it was.
Oh, well, I mean, listen,
25
during
people.
COVID, we had a once in a lifetime event, hopefully, knock on wood. And a lot of things got messed up, but crime is back.
It's not going to be it's not going to be the only pandemic, guys. I hate to break it to you. It is not.
Down. You know, the only crime that has gone up, which is fascinating. And for all of the BS that we heard over the past couple of years about, you know, shoplifting and smash and grab and all that, do you know what the one major crime that is up?
Which one?
The most statistically? It's actually shoplifting. Shoplifting went up in 2023, and it is now because it went down during COVID. So as much as we heard, because and I know you've talked about this quite a bit, and I think it's been misrepresented in a lot of respects, that all of the shoplifting was up and people are gone mayhem. It's crazy. It was actually below where it was in 2019, and it is now back up to where it was in 2019.
I think,
and because COVID was, you know, screwed up with our society so much, but again. You ask me, why are we going the wrong direction with capital punishment? I would say it is the absolute BS that has been shoveled. I don't watch your show enough to know, although I've seen people on here who, when Emma was on, who promote this idea that there was like this explosion of crime. And in fact, what ends up happening is that, yes, during COVID, there was a spike. And now we're back down. And the only thing that is back at 2019 levels is actually shoplifting, because it had gone down and it's gone back up because we're back to normal.
So I'm trying to pull up the Marshall Project. This is a good one. So we had these, this was the story that happened, and this is what's a cause for contention. The FBI released crime data showing that...
I can't. He still pretends to be a journalist, which is the most fantastic thing. He literally just reads nude articles. If you read nude articles, that'd be a very interesting show. He just reads news articles. He doesn't check if they're true. He doesn't follow up with them to see if they've been proven false or if anybody's fact-checked them. He just reads news articles that sort of appeal to a particular right-wing bias, and he just reads them off. He's like, what do you think of that, Sam? It's pathetic.
Crime had gone down. And, during the presidential debates, David Muir fact-checked Donald Trump saying, actually, crime is down. However, recently, the FBI released new crime data showing
Andy reads them incorrectly when they're good. Yeah, the Marshall Project is good.
Actually, it was up. It was up, I believe, 4.5%.
When? What year?
The year prior, 2021.
That it was up.
Yeah. So the latest data that we have.
But we knew. No, it was actually 2022. We knew. We knew. Yeah, it was 2020.
I'm sorry, the increase from 2021.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, during COVID. In the wake of COVID, 2022 was up because the data reporting was not complete. But if you look at 2023 data, which is now they have got enough of the police departments online that 94 point, I don't know, something of the country is covered, you will find that crime is down in 2023.
So do you think, I think one of the issues
we had a rise because of COVID, and now it's dropping back down. But again, let's also be clear on this. If you compare 1990 crime with today, it's basically like this. It's just straight down on that.
You want to know something interesting? You know what one of the biggest factors in the decline in murder is? Cell phones. So back in the day, in the 90s, if somebody got stabbed, somebody had to run to a payphone to try and call 911, and that created a massive gap between first response and medical treatment. And so around the time cell phones came out, you see a massive drop in murder charges and homicides. People immediately started thinking like, wow, crime is down. And it's like, well, no, look at the crime data. It is down. It is going down, but it's not the same. There's
assault is still a crime, Tim, and attempted murder is still a crime. Them dying or not dying would not lead to the crime rate going up or down.
There's a decline in crime and a sharp decline in murder because now people were instantly calling 911 and first responders were
that'd be a decline in murder, but that wouldn't be a decline in crime.
Having on scene much more quickly. So that's
okay, but also the other part was, that's interesting.
Crime's been going down.
Crime has been going down. I mean, there's a lot of theories about it. I happen to think it's a function of lead, to be honest with you.
I agree, lead and gasoline.
Lead and gasoline and lead regulation. It's another example of strong government regulation bringing about benefits that we couldn't even imagine.
I agree. What do you think? I don't understand.
He's citing one study that says there's a correlation. Well, I mean, it's a correlation I'm willing to accept. Like, it kind of makes sense intuitively. Like, being able to communicate with first responders faster would mean that you'll get first responders there, able to save someone who's bleeding out on the sidewalk, say, like, quicker. So that stands to reason that would have some kind of positive effect on saving people who have been otherwise mortally wounded. But he's also saying, I don't see how that represents. I don't know how that would affect crime going down. That might affect like your murder statistics because people are less likely to die and therefore they haven't been murdered. But the event that caused them to be injured in the first place was still a crime, right?
Mechanism by which lead made crime happen. I saw the reports though, where
lead is a neurotoxin, and if you have brain damage,
it's a non sequitur because Sam is making him look really fucking dumb, so he pulled a cool fact out of a hat. Yeah. But he even got that wrong. Like, it didn't make any sense in the context of how he was using it.
You're more likely to be maybe violent or antisocial.
That's crazy. Like in the 70s when we had leaded gasoline and it's just pumping out of all these cars, people are effectively having some kind of effect on their brain that
it aggregates. And so if you are living in areas that had a lot of lead paint hadn't been remediated.
You know what's horrifying? Leaded gasoline in cars was only banned in my country in 1990. It's horrifying. When was it banned? It's not banned in the States, is it? Hang on. Was it banned in the States? 1996. Jesus Christ. I have a strong suspicion. I have a strong suspicion because I remember when I was very young, we'd go for car rides and I would get horrifically sick off the fumes. Like, horrifically. Like, I've never been since. I have a strong suspicion there was shit in that. I don't know. Just I have a suspicion. Because this would have been like mere years after the ban, right? It was already being phased up for 1990 in Canada. Okay, well, there you
go. And on top of that, you're getting gasoline that's in the air, or I should say lead that is, in the air because of gas, that accumulates in your brain, and it creates neurotoxin. That's why we have that problem in Flint, Michigan,
right?
With the lead poisoning. We have a lot of children, who are
it's in the walls and the paint,
who have special needs. And there is data. I mean, this is, it's very difficult to assess this stuff, but there's data that shows that about 20 years after lead gasoline is outlawed, or lead in gasoline is outlawed, you see a precipitous drop in crime. This happened both internationally and in this country.
What do you think about phthalates? Are you familiar?
No.
Amherst put out a study saying lead being removed dropped violent crime in half. Can you send me that, Brooks? In half? I'd want to see like how they did that. That's fascinating.
So plastic chemicals leaching into our food.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And even these cans. So I'm gonna give a shout out to Liquid Death. They'll get mad at me, I guess. So Liquid Death is water in cans, and it says death to plastic. But every single aluminum can is lined with plastic. So it's all leaching into our, even these midriffs. They say they're endocrine disruptors. So they're affecting people's hormone regulation, hormone balance. This could lead to, depending on the study, hormone imbalance could lead to like emotional disturbances or dissociative or like identity issues.
This is one of the reasons why, since we are a couple of days away from an election, why I think it's so important to make sure that Donald Trump is not in a position to appoint any more Supreme Court justices. I mean, the damage has been done, but it could be rectified, because one of the things that this Supreme Court has done in its assault on what is known as the Chevron doctrine,
here we go,
and and deference, is it will over time inhibit the ability of something like the EPA or the USDA or the FDA from assessing in real time that there is a problem with certain products that is poisoning our environment or poisoning our people, and it will inhibit their ability to address it, because we don't know in the future, and certainly if what chemicals. We discovered this over time, right? We didn't know this when plastics are fantastic. And then we start to realize there's these PFAS, there's these things that you mentioned, maybe in the context of fracking, there are certain things leaching into water, but you probably know that you can't just there's no, I test water and then all the bad stuff comes back on the test sheet. You must look for specific things. Well, what this Supreme Court has done is inhibited, and this actually is even a problem for investors like the SEC and other agencies. They have inhibited the ability of these agencies to do their work as scientists, as financial regulators, find problems that exist that were not contemplated by Congress and act upon them, because Congress doesn't have the ability, to act on every single or anticipate every single substance that may be a problem for people, or high
fructose corn syrup.
I mean, that's also a problem. That was under the Nixon administration. They decided they wanted to increase the amount of money that expendable money that people had. So they decided to subsidize corn and make all the food cheaper. But
isn't it weird how the high fructose corn syrup thing happens? They subsidize corn, so then these researchers are like, corn's so cheap now because it's being paid for by the by taxpayers that we can produce. It's actually difficult to make high fructose corn syrup. It's more expensive than sugar, but the government subsidy has resulted in
100%. It's also the filler in all our foods.
Yeah. I was reading something recently that said that the high colon cancer rate among young people is due to emulsifiers. They're using like Gelen gum and guar gum and these things in dairy products. So, or not even just dairy products, but like to make it seem like it's fatty. And so you're actually.
I've read the opposite. This is a particular interest to me because my father died of colon cancer. The mean age of the study participants was 45 years. They found no significant link between emulsifier intake and colorectal cancer incidence, although they identified some links with other food emulsifiers. None were robust. in the sensitivity analysis. Which study was he citing? Did he say?
Just eating this like.
Did he say which one?
A colon cancer rate among.
Hang on.
Corn's so cheap now because it's being paid for by the government, by taxpayers, that we can produce. It's actually difficult to make high fructose corn syrup. It's more expensive than sugar, but the government subsidy has resulted in
100%. It's also the filler in all our foods.
Yeah. I was reading something recently that said that the high colon cancer rate among young people is.
Oh, he didn't even say what he said. He was reading something. Hang on. Colon cancer linked to emulsifier. Where is he reading this? Like if you look this up, by the way, the first thing that comes up, no conclusive evidence that emulsifiers are linked to colorectal cancer. No link. From 2016, dietary emulsifiers promoted colon cancer in a mouse model by altering gut microbes and increasing gut inflammation. Okay, but that's increasing gut inflammation. Let's see. No link. Here we go. Consumption of select dietary emulsifiers exacerbates the risk. No association. I want to know what he's referring to. So let's look at this one quickly. So this is a 2021 published study. Abstract. Inflammation is a well-characterized critical driver of gastrointestinal cancers. Previous findings have shown that intestinal low-grade inflammation can be promoted by the consumption of select dietary emulsifiers, ubiquitous component of processed foods. Using a model of colitis-associated cancer, we previously reported that consumption of the dietary emulsifiers carboxymethylcellulose, or polysorbate 80, exacerbated colonic tumor development. Here we investigated the impact of dietary emulsifiers consumption on cancer initiation and progression in a genetic model of intestinal adenomas. In APCM in mice, we observed that dietary emulsifiers consumption enhanced small intestine tumor development in a way that appeared to be independent of chronic intestinal inflammation, but rather associated with emulsifiers' impact on the proliferative status of the intestinal epithelium, as well as on intestinal microbiota composition in both male and female mice. Proliferative status of the intestinal epithelium. I assume that refers to it affected the cell growth of the, but that's just what cancer is. Overall, our findings further support the hypothesis that emulsifier consumption may be a new modifiable risk factor for colorectal cancer. And that alterations in host microbiota interactions can favor gastrointestinal carcinogenesis in individuals with a genetical predisposition to such disorders. So basically what it's saying is that if you have a predisposition to certain disorders, increasing the inflammation via these things could increase your risk. But that's not really conclusive. But I wish he said what I doubt he read anything about this, but I wish he had said which study, because he's probably Googling this as he's going, like, oh, I don't know anything, should find something cool to say.
Emulsifiers. They're using like gellan gum and guar gum and these things in dairy products. So, or not even just dairy products, but like to make it seem like it's fatty. And so you're.
Nestlig says, the danger of cancer studies is they are very vulnerable to statistical flukes. You need to look at meta-analyses to see if there is a consensus among different studies. Yeah, none of these seem like, all of it seems to be like, look, we found like an increase, but that's not generally by itself sufficient.
You're actually just eating this like gum stuff that gunks up your insides. I don't know how you appropriately regulate.
Wait, what? What?
To make it seem like it's fatty. And so you're actually just eating this like gum stuff that gunks up your insides.
Yeah, it's not causing cancer because it gunks up your insides. That's not what it does. Just to be clear. That's very dumb. It's got gum in it, so it's gumming up your insides, and that causes cancer. Jesus.
I don't know how you appropriately
Guar Gum Gunks. Great band name.
Regulate or deal with things like that, because it's like you're saying, we don't know what it's going to do until we have all this data and research for a long period of time.
I mean, we could regulate against it. Like, I wasn't quite a fan of Michael Bloomberg, but one of the things he did was, I think it was during the Bloomberg administration, they were like,
how do we regulate the ingredients in food? I just don't understand how it's possible. Pink slime was never banned in Canada. That's not a thing people can do. I just don't know. If only there was some mechanism by which you could regulate how people, how companies put substances, what substances companies could put into their food. If only there was some kind of mechanism, some kind of institution, perhaps, that was able to legislate what kinds of things food producers are able to put in as ingredients into their food. I don't think pink slime is bad. Why?
Polysaturated fats, I think it was, that were outlawed in New York City. I think that's become the norm around the country. Even you couldn't buy a 40-ounce soda.
That was kind of weird.
Not really, because it's the same principle, right? I mean, the fact is,
this shit's full of ammonia, isn't it?
Is that like, and the pushback from conservatives in this was so ridiculous because, like, look, I can't go buy.
Why is it bad besides the gross name? Because it's full of ammonia. It's got like it's full of ammonia. It's gross and it's unhealthy.
A pony version of like a beer. Like, I don't want a 12-ounce beer.
It's not illegal.
I want to, but I can't. It's not available to me. I mean, the size distribution, what difference does it make? Like, at the end of the day.
Right, well, that's true because people just bought 2 sodas.
It is, yeah. I mean, if you buy 2 sodas, at least you're trying to basically, you're not. You're not outlawing sodas or whatnot, but you're trying to encourage less cost essentially for society, right? Because more people get diabetes, that ends up costing society more. I mean, so there's a lot of value to regulation. Look, we saw this in the context of light bulbs. The light technology we have in here, right? All these LEDs. It's a lot cooler in here than it would be if we had the old-timey lights.
Oh, they burn out too.
The LEDs don't. They're cheaper. It took a couple of years before you got the technology was better. But maybe you remember this, but the outrage by conservatives over the light bulbs, and we hear Trump talk about this too with the toilets and whatnot. Incidentally, I'm very sorry. You have a very fancy toilet. And you have a very fancy toilet.
You apologize.
It's treated with ammonia to kill bacteria, but ammonia evaporates off later. It's not bad. I was reading that it has a lot of ammonia still. I don't really care. It's just like, I just feel like if you're selling a product, you shouldn't be filling it with shit to make it something else but that product, It actually avoids food waste. Okay, well, shows what I know. Either way, I get actual meat in my McDonald's here.
Well, it wouldn't flush.
You got to, because it's a fancy toilet. It's trying to save water. We try, man. So
no, I appreciate that.
You end up having to press it several times, and then
it didn't work for me.
Should we just get the regular one? The regular?
I don't know what you should do, but maybe I would call the authorities because
Well, I mean, but that's kind of an issue, right? We have this like high-end eco toilet. It will.
Well, it's a bidet, and it's fantastic. I really enjoyed that part of it. It's just,
but it won't flush.
It didn't flush.
Yeah, people keep asking, like, I don't understand. I'm like, you got to press it like 3 times because it has like a sensor.
I pressed it like 5.
So I mean, this kind of feels like an example. So we agree. We want to reduce excess waste. We want to reduce overuse. Waste in general. Like, we don't want to produce waste. We want to not waste things like fresh water. But now we have a toilet that requires 5 flushes because we tried doing the right thing.
Well, I mean, look, you just bought the wrong toilet. I mean,
one downstairs and have the
I have low flow. You can find low flow, manual toilets. I mean, that's a high end toilet. Somebody screwed up. But I mean, the bottom line is all of these. There are definitely regulations. Nobody's forcing you to buy that toilet, but there are definitely regulations that we find over time are not as effective as we thought. But the bottom line is all of this deregulation that we're seeing is a function of largely certainly of conservatives.
I love how Sam is like, you need to call the authorities. They'll have to bomb in your toilet. I hope he did.
But largely a function of the Republican Party.
I hope that thing never flushes the same.
And now we see, for me, Kamala Harris would not be the first person that I would vote for. But in terms of the Supreme Court, that alone is enough for me.
How do we balance?
And federal courts, I would say, too, broadly. I mean,
how do we balance this? Right, so there's a push and pull between private and public. There are, I've never been a laissez-faire libertarian guy. I've never heard a good argument from a libertarian about how you protect water. I've often brought up the Clean Water Restoration Act. Are you familiar?
A little.
Just a minute ago. Thanks for the 5 gifted memberships.
A bit.
I'm not trying to put you on the spot. It's just I think it was the 70s. I'm not sure if it was the Cuyahoga River.
It was the Cuyahoga River in Ohio that was on fire, and that's where we got the EPA from.
Right. And people were like, why is this? And what ends up happening is all of these corporations say, don't look at me. I only did a little bit. And it's like, well, yeah, but literally everybody doing a little bit is an avalanche.
Yes, of course.
And I've never heard a good answer for how you deal with something like that. Just claiming someone owns the river changes nothing.
No, of course it doesn't. I mean, I've had many, many debates. People can look on my channel for my debates with libertarians, and at one point it all just turns into ridiculous mush with libertarians. And look, there's the idea that you are either pro-regulation or anti-regulation. To be anti-regulation is, in my estimation, absurd. But that doesn't mean that you don't look at each regulation and make an assessment as to whether it's functioning or not. There's a lot of local regulations that I think are unhelpful at times. I'm sure on a federal level there are some regulations that are unhelpful. But the bottom line is, fundamentally, do you allow the government to have this ability to regulate? The idea that we have that it inhibits the free market in some way, I think the idea of a free market is absurd, doesn't exist. But beyond that... I'm
reading on this as we go. Apparently I've been misinformed about the pink slime thing. Apparently it appears to be generally safe. So, never mind. I'm still glad I'm not eating it, but never mind.
We're always regulating the market. It's just a question for whose benefit are we regulating it? That's the bottom line.
I think free markets can only exist temporarily until someone amasses power and then displaces the market and becomes the power structure.
But there is no, like, what is a free market?
It would be like 10 people who live 10 miles from each other, they trade periodically. But once you get to a point where anyone can...
Is it just leftover edible food waste from animal products? My understanding was that it was treated in a way that was considered to be dangerous, but apparently that's been overblown significantly.
Controls one resource, you start to get power displacement, and then you'll end up with power centralizing.
Yes, well, the first thing that you're talking about, hasn't existed in
forever.
Yeah, forever. I mean, really.
All right, we're going to pick this up next stream. We're going to do a theory segment, because I promised you one, okay? So I'm going to be back in like 5 minutes. I'm going to grab some more coffee, and then we're going to do theory for like an hour to an hour and a half. I'll be right back. So, it is time to announce the winner. Which piece of President Sunday merchandise shall be discounted? And, it's the bikini at 36%, well in the lead. Really? Alright, the President Sunday bikini is gonna go radically on sale. Hang on one sec. I gotta do this before we start theory. I don't understand you people sometimes. I just don't. I just do not. Oh. All right. So where's the bikini? There it is. All right. So typically it's at 41, and I can bring it down to, where can I bring it down to 30? Bring it down to 28. Oh, your selling price must be $29.95 or higher. So $29.95 is the lowest I can go, okay? It's the lowest it will allow me. So, the official President Sunday bikini is now on sale on the store page for a mere $29.95 American. All right. Theory. We are looking at Eugenie Brinkema's life-destroying diagrams. And I have to be very careful here because there is actually porn in this book. So I cannot scroll down too fast. They're stills from a movie with nudity in it. So it's not actually porn, it's just indistinguishable from it. Why is it not letting me pick Adobe? There we go. No, I want that one. There we are. Boom. Okay. So I want to look at the opening of this because it's actually really interesting, okay? It's genuinely a very, very interesting chapter. How do I change it from snapping to just free scrolling? How to page view button. Where is it? God damn it, hang on. Okay, so it's There's no view button. There's no view button here. What the hell? Pan. No, that's not it. God, what's the... Document properties. That doesn't help me. Oh, that's so annoying. Oh, here we go. Menu. There we go. Finally. It was... Aha. Okay. Enable scrolling. There we go. There we go. Now we're cooking with gas. All right. Okay. We're in business. All right. We are doing theory. Let me grab the actual book quickly so I can show it to you because it's nice. We are looking at Eugenie Brinkema's Life-Destroying Diagrams, published by Duke University. Very, very odd looking book. Very blue. Very nice though. It's got a nice cover. It's got nice quality paper. It's nice. It's not like sewn or anything. It's nothing special, but it's like well put together. It is a nice book. And you can't see this right now, but I'm currently looking at naked people. Anyways. Press on. Sounds like a Clive Barker novel. More to do with films, but I think it does deal with Clive Barker as well. Alright, so we are looking at Life-Destroying Diagrams. We're looking at the first chapter, Horror or, okay? And she begins, I am done with the neck. What the hell does that mean? Enthralled to an etymology that details nervy vibrissaes standing on end, a bristling, shaking, trembling, a shuddering, being roughed up, excited, stimulated by, moved by the terrible, the dreadful, from intense, painful feelings of fear, loathing, disgust, this icy unease, what chills all spines, a symptom, a sign, piercing and rolling shivers and unsteady movements, the gestural recoil of abhorrence, a frisson, a thrill, some shock, even what sickens to tell, horribil dictu, opposite of miraculous, what wastes lovely wonder, or is revolting, or detestable, each nervous ascent of each rigid, raised pilus, rippling skin and bloomy plain, pointing and stiffened and exhibiting, so then awful as soldered to body as what sudden strikes, rustles, waves as in the sea, a fouled flesh now embossed, with these displaced traces of all that undoing, thinking has capitulated to this finely stippled field, purchased the ability to speak of horror at the cost of keeping close to the sensitive receptions of the nape. What she's about to explain, I'm probably getting a bit ahead of myself here just by sort of spoiling this, but is that analyses of horror has sort of escaped any kind of like real conceptual consideration of a thing that has to be considered on its own terms as something like with its own depth and something worth exploring, as if it derives entirely from a physiological response, i.e. horror is simply the physiological response of particular body parts, namely parts of your neck, the hairs in your neck, raising in the presence of a certain stimulus, right? One of the consequences of this is that if there is something more in the domain of the numinous taking place, like, for example, why is it that horror so frequently has to involve the supernatural or something that represents what Ian Banks calls an outside context event in Accession, where you are encountering something that is sort of beyond the human, and therefore there are perversions of how we think the world works that then become the site of an extremely interesting sensation, like when you read like Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer or like other cosmic horror, that kind of thing. Resolving all of that in this represents a species of something that causes your hair to raise is both really unsatisfying, but it also represents a pattern of thinking that sort of enslaves our analysis of concepts to both the etymology of the terms as well as to specific modes of engaging with the world that are rooted in a particular biology or in a particular context. One example that's sort of closer to what I talk about a lot on this channel, or have talked about in the last couple of years, is a book called by Christian Meyer called The Greek Discovery of Politics. And this is an interesting title in this context for this reason. He doesn't talk about the Greek invention of politics, he talks about the Greek discovery of politics. Because what he's describing is not something that is entirely reducible to the contextual events that gave rise to the Greek polis in particular, and to institutions that followed therefrom, and to an invented domain of politics that's associated with the polis, which it is, though. Like, the name derives from there. However, there are particular dynamics of human association that were discovered in the course of these things being invented. And these are things that have something a bit more universal about them, not in the sense of the political as a category being universally applicable to all human contexts, but rather that under specific contexts, there are kinds of dynamics and kinds of characters that emerge, and kinds of discourses that emerge and are made possible that are not reducible to the institutional context that gave rise to them initially. Does that make sense? Robin Page, thank you for the $2. A review suggestion for Theory of Minecraft. I do not think that's going to happen, but thank you very much. We'll add that to Theory now. For two reasons. First of all, because I will get my channel banned, but second, because it's not very theoretically interesting. It's actually it's a very dumb book. It is shit. It's actually boring. It's incredibly boring. The Poetics of Mein Kampf recommended. Jesus. All right. Speaking of neck, my neck is killing me right now. All right. But I digress. The Latin horere, I'm assuming pronouncing that correctly, hair stood on end, itself from gers, and the prickly, the spiky, what becomes stiff, sticks out, protrudes as in the spines of plants. A leaf with coarse cilia, such that horridus, from which derives horrid, suggests the hispid and the hairy. This rude, unpolished line of fibers made erect, delicate, but still too many of them, links horror even to the woollier, shaggier hirsute. Virgil writes of Cerberus in Aeneid 6. Qui vates horrere videns, iem cola calubris. I probably butchered that, but in English. About the watchdog's several necks are glimpsed rising, bristling snakes. Try, you will fail to make a verb of it. Horror is what is obtained or taken delivery of, experienced by, or felt as, and done to, a form of the made, or what is intended, produced, or cause, not the performance of some doing. So, horroring. Be very careful with how you pronounce that. Horroring is not an action. It's not a thing, right? You don't horror. A horror is simply a description of something done or presented. One may horrify solely as bequeathment, a giving of some quality in the act. But one does not, may not, horror as such. The horrius is what causes horror. The horrible, that capacity for dreadful realization indicated by the suffix class denoting possibility. Its shivering intensity may be paired with pity, with bitterness or unease, bonded to le carnage for a Voltaire who repudiates both as faddish. Figured as ataraxic in Edmund Burke's 1757 Sublime, object of a delightful horror, a sort of tranquility tinged with terror. By the way, new acquisition. This is a collection of philosophical writings by Edmund Burke, which includes, by the way, On the Sublime and Beautiful. And we have a section here of terror. Let's give that a look. Section 1 of the Passion Caused by the Sublime. The passion caused by the great and sublime in nature, when those causes operate most powerfully, is astonishment. And astonishment is that state of the soul in which all its motions are suspended with some degree of horror. In this case, the mind is so entirely filled with its object that it cannot entertain any other, nor by consequence reason on that object which employs it. Hence arises the great power of the sublime, that far from being produced by them, it anticipates our reasonings, and hurries us on by an irresistible force. Astonishment, as I have said, is the effect of the sublime in its highest degree. The inferior effects are admiration, reverence, and respect. Section 2 of Terror. No passion so effectually robs the mind of all its powers of acting and reasoning as fear. For fear being an apprehension of pain or death, it operates in a manner that resembles actual pain. Whatever therefore is terrible with regard to sight is sublime too, whether this cause of terror be endued with greatness of dimensions or not. For it is impossible to look on anything as trifling or contemptible that may be dangerous. There are many animals who, though far from being large, are yet capable of raising ideas of the sublime, because they are considered as objects of terror, as serpents and poisonous animals of almost all kinds. And to things of great dimensions, if we annex an adventitious idea of terror, they become without comparison greater. A level plain of a vast extent on land is certainly no mean idea. The prospect of such a plain may be as extensive as a prospect of the ocean, but can it ever fill the mind with anything so great as the ocean itself? This is owing to several causes, but it is owing to none more than this: that the ocean is an object of no small terror. Indeed, terror is in all cases whatsoever either more openly or latently the ruling principle of the sublime. Several languages bear a strong testimony to the affinity of these ideas. They frequently use the same word to signify indifferently the modes of astonishment or admiration and those of terror. I can't read Greek, and this is not translated in Greek. So, orzibos is in Greek either fear or wonder. Yevos is terrible or respectable, and to reverence or fear. Verior in Latin is what is in Greek. The Romans used the verb stupio, a term which strongly marks the state of an astonished mind, to express the effect either of simple fear or astonishment. The word atonitus, thunderstruck, is equally expressive of the alliance of these ideas, and do not the French étonnement and the English astonishment and amazement point out as clearly the kindred emotions which attend fear and wonder? Those who have a more general knowledge of languages could produce, I make no doubt, many other and equally striking examples. This is just the Harvard Classics Collector's Edition of Edmund Burke's writings, which is actually quite nice. It is a very nice volume, and I generally don't recommend people get collector's editions like this for books because they're not very scholarly. If they're translations, they're usually just public domain ones. If they're in English, that's fine. But I digress. Figured as ataraxic, Edmund Burke's sublime object of a delightful horror, a sort of tranquility tinged with terror, we just read that, or its strangling aversion sewn to an unable to bear revulsion. When Mary Shelley's famous doctor glimpses his gray, corpse-made creation, he gasps, breathless horror and disgust filled my heart. That's obviously from Frankenstein. It's a quote by Augustine here. Augustine, in one of the most famous passages in Confessions, writes of the overwhelming moment when for the first time he knew God. I trembled violently, shook with love and horror. Physiological response. Neck bristling, right? It's not horror in the sense of the horror you feel reading The Shining, say. if indeed anyone does feel that much horror. It's not that scary a book. It's good, though. The Shining is actually quite good. These terms for hideosity move between the literal and the figurative, such that the unshorn is also the rude and voluntary tremble, also a tone or mode of disquieting dread. The Spanish horripilante and Italian orripilante. I'm butchering the pronunciations, I apologize. I'm very monolingual. The literally hair-raising or evocatively the grisly and creepy. The late 18th century Shower Roman, a subset of the Gothic, is a Shudder novel. Rough, coarse as of cloth, and therefore ugly. The negative rotation of aesthetics. Ill-formed. What degrades the cultivation of form. And what a lack of clarity in form may compel. Brutus marvels to the ghost of Caesar, art thou anything? Art thou some god, some angel, or some devil, that makest my blood cold and my hair to stare? In Dracula, Stoker writes in Seward's diary of coming upon the terrible sight of Mina's blood exchange with the Count. Quote, with his left hand he held both Mrs. Harker's hands, keeping them away with her arms at full tension. His right hand gripped her by the back of the neck, forcing her face down on his bosom. Her white nightdress was smeared with blood, and a thin stream trickled down the man's bare chest, which was shown by his torn-open dress, unquote. The resulting horror, which is textually antecedent, performs a bodily reading of the scene. Quote. Sorry, not quote. The effective turn, circa 1897. Quote, what I saw appalled me. I felt my hair raised like bristles on the back of my neck, and my heart seemed to stand still, unquote. The reaction to the carnal tableau mimics the gesture that is its provocation, a transaction with substituted body parts, echoing the claret reciprocity between victim and bat. The novel turns on the figure of exchanged necks. At the sight of Mina's scruff gripped by aristocratic hand, Seward's lived column is convulsed. His neck column is convulsed by raw affect. All neck, only necks. And neck a tender text that shows over and over the same familiar swell. What is horrendous? What is horrent or horrendous, rather? What is horrent or horrendous stirs and arouses the recipient, not merely as raised flesh, but as though hackled with the projecting filaments of a beast, as in the stiffness prized for boar-bristled brushes, as in the uniform body and flagged end of boiled pig bristle. In his consideration of the muscularities of disturbance, Darwin treats the raising of these threads generously, at first focusing on the involuntary contractions of the erectores pili, on the capsules of separate hairs now on end, as in the spines of the hedgehog. Quote, hardly any expressive movement is so general as the involuntary erection of the hairs, feathers, and other dermal appendages, unquote, he writes in The Expression of Emotions. Quote, these appendages are erected under the excitement of anger or terror, more especially when these emotions are combined, unquote. When turning to the special case of humans, Darwin offers examples of the rough excitement seen in both rage and fear, mania and madness. Quote, the bristling of the hair, which is so common in the insane, is not always associated with terror. It is perhaps most frequently seen in chronic maniacs who rave incoherently and have destructive impulses. But it is during their paroxysms of violence that the bristling is most observable. Strands function as an index of the mental state. I should say unquote before that. Strands function as an index of the mental state, visibly attesting to feverish disturbances of mind. If a lunatic is a lunatic all the way down, Darwin posits, it is, quote, to the extremity of each particular hair, unquote. Entranced by this roughed-up, shuddering neck, critical work on horror and representation, whether in painting, literature, film, or other media, for necks extend, elongate, they stretch, has overwhelmingly, stubbornly taken this etymological cartography as a non-negotiable sign of the bad affect's essence, limit, purview, function, and conceit. Horror thus takes on the burden of all root aesthetics, dating back to Baumgarten's aesthenomai. I sense, I perceive, I feel. A disturbed viewer, reader, spectator is demanded by the force of the word's origin, this figuration that is seductively straightforward and simple, the positivism of goosebumps. While also poetic, evocative with all its rippled waves of flesh and nerve. There seems to be neither critical need nor desire to travel beyond the suggestion of a fundamental effective aim and purpose for the entire concept. Or perhaps it is in fact the case that horror fails even to be regarded as a concept, treated as nothing but an affect. Consider, for example, this proposition from James Twitchell's 1985 book, Dreadful Pleasures and Anatomy of Modern Horror, an early and oft-cited study, and one that begins and ends with a horror tinged with necessity. Fixing on, quote, the way nape hair stands on end, unquote, Twitchell argues that, quote, the shiver we associate with horror is the result of the constriction of the skin that firms up the subcutaneous hair follicles and thus accounts for the rippling sensation, almost as if a tremor were fluttering down our back. From this comes the most appropriate trope for horror, creeping flesh, or more simply, the creeps. Medical science is now exploring the biochemical substance corticotropin. Medical science is now exploring the biochemical substance corticotropin that triggers this response by signaling the pituitary gland to produce hormones. But for our purposes, just the hair on the neck will do, unquote. Theories of horror relying on this entrenched latinate neck quickly become repetitive, rote, undifferentiated despite profound divergences in their theoretical approaches. This is really important because this has wider application. So what she's basically saying here is that by taking a certain root in a certain physiognomical etymological convergence, right, as the explanation for this thing called horror. We could look at other things that have a similar relation to etymology and biology. Our theory is canalized to a particular outcome. People say that Kant's I'm going to diverge a little bit. People like to argue, frequently argue, in fact, very respectable philosophers, like who's the person who did the Beyond After Virtue, McIntyre, will characterize Kant's approach to morality as if it is empty, right? As if it's sort of devoid of content and therefore shallow. Because one of the things that Kant does is he says that in order to, I'm paraphrasing very roughly, but in order to approach the moral qua the moral, you have to be doing something shorn of all biological contingency and necessity. In this respect, the moral is identifiable with the universal. But anything that implicates the human body, the human condition, or even life on this planet generally, is the particular. This is something that is particular to a particular physical arrangement, to a specific physical arrangement. And the reason for this is because what Kant doesn't want to lose is the idea of morality as being something more than the well-functioning of the organs of one animal species, us in this case. He thinks, I'm going to use Bergson's language here, but I think it applies, and Bergson is heavily Kantian. He thinks that morality, that freedom, etc., in his language operate according to other causalities. In Bergson's language, they overflow these categories. Does that make sense? So, the danger here is that by reducing horror, or by starting from horror as a physiological response, you end up reducing the stuff that horror conceptually deals with to that which affects, with an E, effects this physiological response. I want to say physiognomical. This physiological response. And so what you end up with is a situation in which horror is reduced from a potential genre of discourse, study, and art that may be profound to one in which it is a kind of product that is meant to make your hair stand on end, which is deeply unsatisfying. Because really good horror often is about a lot more than that. Bloodborne's a great example of this, actually. Bloodborne is unequivocally horror, right? Does it make your hair stand on end? No, not really. It's not that kind of game. It doesn't make you feel that kind of way. But it's horror. The subject matter is horror, right? And yet, that physiological response isn't really there. It's not really an essential part of it. Instead, it deals in things that the concept horror seems to encompass or seems to touch on. And therein lies the horror. But fundamentally, it's no different than, well, I mean, what's that crab Souls-like that came out? I mean, gameplay-wise, it's basically the same kind of thing. It's about as tense. Although in his influential analytic cognitivist account, The Philosophy of Horror, Paradoxes of the Heart, Noel Carroll expressly writes in opposition to the psychoanalytic hermeneutics on which Twitchell relies, he returns to sensation through the same spiny receptions of the back of the head. The effective priority Carroll attributes to his subject derives explicitly from an authority surrendered to source. Even if bristling remains only a heuristic. Quote, the word horror derives from the Latin horrere, to stand on end, as hair standing on end, or to bristle, and the Old French horreur, to bristle or to shudder, unquote, he writes. And quote, and though it need not be the case that our hair must literally stand on end when we are art horrified, it is important to stress that the original conception of the word connected it with an abnormal, from the subject's point of view, physiological state of agitation, unquote. The sensorial claim furnishes a generic claim. Novels are denominated horrific in respect of their capacity to raise a certain affect. I shall presume that this is an emotional state which emotion I call art horror, unquote. Carroll's recourse to provocation renders his cognitive aesthetic philosophy of horror above all a philosophy of physiological feeling, one that does not require or grip a neck so much as stand on it. So Brinkema is obviously going to reject this whole approach. That's kind of obviously what she's building up towards as a critique of this. That's why she says I am done with the neck. It's interesting that they're reading Vampiri to this Infernalis in the server right now, because one of the things that deals with really heavily is the weird ways in which our concepts are downstream from our body configurations, to put it really bluntly. In just that particular kind of way. Just as changes in theoretical allegiance do little to vary appeals to this etymological line, the decades-long evolution of horror studies has not diminished the priority of a bodily affect legible in flesh and follicle. A tidy finding of bearings folds this line of scholarship and makes it resemble itself in its citation of etymological authority. Linda Williams quotes Twitchell extensively in Film Bodies. Her meditation on body genres, melodrama, horror, pornography, whose success, quote-unquote, seems a self-evident matter of measuring bodily response. That comparison is not accidental, by the way. You want to understand, sort of in rhetorical terms, why this is such a deeply unsatisfying way to approach horror. Horror tends to involve things that we take a particular interest in that seems to be beyond physiological needs. Horror, as a genre of art, meant specifically to evoke a particular physiological response, and that's it, is like porn. It's like porn. That's what it is. The aptly named Twitchell, she continues, thus describes a kind of erection of the hair, how appropriate, founded in the conflict between reactions of fight and flight. While male victims in horror films may shudder and scream as well, it has long been a dictum of the genre that women make the best victims. Unquote. Although Williams' version of neck is now multiply surveilled on shuddering represented victims and bristling empirical spectators, and though that neck is particularized given a relation to sexual difference, this model of a productive, receptive mimicry has not moved far from Tolstoy's late 19th century definition of art as the means by which a creator infects, quote-unquote, spectators or auditors, admittedly there with the feeling during the act of creation. So the idea being you create a piece of art with the intent to infect, as opposed to the infection taking place upon the receipt of the product, right? With the feeling represented within the creation. And the erection of strands on nape is still the fulcrum for effective criteria of generic success. Williams' use of that word is telling. Carroll writes it often as well. So long as a definition of horror relies on dogma derived from the neck, I love that line. So long as a definition of horror relies on dogma derived from the neck, it will turn on the attainment of a specific, predictable outcome, which invariably returns to the demonstrated accomplishment of raised, downy hairs. This is everywhere a language of purpose, a discourse of efficacy. Neck is a template predicated on the idealism of a positive aesthetic experience, realized with neither loss nor noise. And I love this line so much. Neck is a machine doing a good job. Neck names the well-behaving commodity. So literally, horror, good horror, a book that does horror, is one that makes the hairs on your neck raise on end. Either literally or by some conceptual association. That's really lame. Another great connection here is, this brings to mind, it doesn't just bring to mind, I think it's actually directly relevant. Althusser's ideas about ideology, given in the book On Ideology. So Althusser distinguishes between ideology and liberal ideology. And you can think of them in these terms, okay? Ideology you can think of as whether or not the dogma is derived from the neck or from something else. Liberal ideology, the liberal concept of ideology, is the different ways in which people configure their understandings of the world, presuming the neck. Here's an example. If you are a liberal, you may think you see people of diverse ideological stances when they think a monarch should be in charge of the government, a woman should be in charge of the government, there should be a council of representative ethnic groups in charge of the government, and whether or not, for example, you should be able to vote, or you should be able to freely roam across borders, etc., or whether you think that people should be allowed to own guns or own private property, and so on and so forth, in the sense of being able to personally own houses, or whether they should be owned by the government as such. But that overarching skeleton in the background, the sort of cookie-cutter mold of there being the private sphere, the public sphere, and the government over top, that remains. That's the neck in political terms. And so everything that presumes that is a dogma from the neck of sort of a liberal ideological standpoint. Does that make sense? Whereas a real ideological analysis looks specifically at things at the level of the actual structure that predetermines what that canalizes discourse in particular directions. So means of production would be one, as an example. In this case, the actual the actual physiology of human bodies. Even Anna Powell's Deleuzian rejoinder to psychoanalytic horror criticism with theoretical sympathies resolutely opposed to Twitchell, Carroll, and Williams opens with a definition of her subject. Quote, films designed to horrify by their depictions of violence and the supernatural, unquote, that turns on the by now familiar shivers, using language nearly identical to that of earlier critics. Quote, the word horror, she writes, is derived from the Latin horrere, to bristle or shudder. Its historical usages, incorporates sensory associations such as roughness or nauseousness of taste, such as to cause a shudder or thrill, unquote. A painful emotion, or not unquote, pardon me, a painful emotion compounded of loathing and fear, and the feeling excited by something shocking or frightful which is revolting to sight, hearing, or contemplation. Unquote. These definitions emphasize the genre's affective potency and intriguingly do not differentiate... Oh, sorry, not unquote. Jesus, my eyes are failing me here. Continuing the quote. These definitions emphasize the genre's affective potency and intriguingly do not differentiate the impact of actual and fictional horror, unquote. We might go on, assemble a vast archive of barely differentiated claims for horripilation, but the dissatisfaction is primed. Is there only this one narrow neck in the all of critical history? Critical valuations have consequences. Twitchell puts it most nakedly. Following on his primary assertion from the neck, the insistence that, quote, the experience of horror is first physiological and only then may be numinous, unquote, figuring horror as an imminent experience of the body and a body-addressing genre, he declares its upshot, quote, the instructions embedded in horror resist literary, especially formalist interpretation, unquote. If it is unsurprising that one result of neck essentialism has been a suspicion of, if not outright derision toward, critical approaches that are indifferent to the affected corpus, more troubling is that the privileging of neck has led to a contempt for all the marvelous detailed difficulties of formalist interpretation that engender theoretical reach, and for which I advocated, Brinkema advocated, in The Forms of the Affects. That's another book that she wrote earlier, which I have to get still, because I'm really enjoying Life Destroying Diagrams. This is a fantastic book so far. To the point, there is a bartering of form for neck in this broad critical tendency. Bristles purchased at a great cost. It is impossible to say which comes first. It is both the case that neck interiorizes a sensitive, sensing body to horror in order to impossibilize reading for form, and that it interiorizes a resistance to reading for form in order to posit a sensitive/sensing body, sensitive or sensing body, I should say. Horror, as an effective apodicticity, horror as an effective apodicticity, which is that which is sort of clearly established as beyond dispute. You'll hear this word a lot in Kant. So an apodicticity is taking this essentially as sort of a floor. She's being very florid in her language, which basically means this is a wall. This is an impenetrable wall. This is taken as foundational, not as axiomatic, because it's not explicitly posited as like a presumption, but sort of taken presumptively as the actual root of this, because of the etymological root. Horror as an effective apodicticity, sort of an effective wall beyond into which no inquiry is necessary, promising only to recover the isthmic and receptive isthmic, like an isthmus, like the neck, right? Thereby forecloses modes of reading that would be generative and speculative. I'm going to make sure, isthmus. That is what that refers to, right? Yeah, near a strip of land. Yeah, like an isthmus. Yeah. Because it connects two bodies of water. Oh, she actually says that in the next line, right. Horror, more than any signifying monster, is the metatrope unifying horror studies. There is an economy to the genealogical fix that horror locks in, but it is a restricted economy. If within its own thinking, horror allows eruptions symptomatically, the return of the repressed, disturbing cultural leakages and excess, what it systematically refuses and suppresses is eruptive discontinuities in the neck orientation of its name. I take no interest in this neck, will derive no interest from it. Where are we at right now? How long have we been going for? About half an hour. Good. We're making good time. Although a constriction, although a slender structure, neck is also a strait. What connects skull and shoulders, two bodies of water, is a channel. An outline of a fluid body, and channels above all big to flow, to go otherwise. Let us reread Horrere with care. Suppose the problem was one of language all along. If etymological sedimentations beholden to the restrictions of a hairy bristly map have engendered the critical obsession with a feeling receiving receptive body, might recovering a different tradition let us decisively move on from the neck. Perhaps the trouble is with the Latin. Our words are tired, they repeat, they are old, words get worn, and so, then, do we merely need some other ones? The Greeks deployed an extensive vocabulary for the bad affective state we call fright, with tonalities varying according to stimuli. The sense of a justified or unjustified reaction, and valences related to experiences by individuals or groups. Within this substantial set, the most common words for fear were deos, phobos, and ekplexis, with nuanced resonances of, respectively, doubt, running, and shock. Deos, from do or to, takes the sense of being unsure in the face of a double option or alternative. To be in doubt is to be in two. In Iliad 9.230 to 31, as everything hangs in the balance, Odysseus entreats Achilles, "We are afraid it can go either way, whether we save or lose our well-benched ships." In Odyssey 11:43, as Odysseus watches the shades drink blood, he is seized with chloron deus, green fear, a favorite Homeric idiom, sometimes rendered pale fear in English, think blanching terror, and classicists suggest, associated with the uncertainties endemic to the underworld or the supernatural. This terror inherent in double alternatives will be reimagined in 20th century structuralism as the hesitation between the uncanny and the marvelous. An event occurs, and was it a trick of the senses, and undermining of self and perception, but against the field of a world preserved, knowable, firm? Or did this thing really happen as perceived correctly by the pure senses, and now the world, before so stable and natural seeming, is now changed, undermined, devastated? How to decide? All is unsurety, the duration of which Todorov will dub the fantastic. Phobos takes the route to run, but phobio specifically means I cause to run away, put to flight, that from which one moves violently apart, with an irrational and shivering, cold dimension. For example, Thucydides writes that, quote, night supervened, and the Macedonians and the mass of barbarians took sudden fright, phobiastai, seized by that unaccountable panic to which large armies are liable. Unquote. The Greek grammarian Ammonius offered a treatment on the difference between deos, a presentiment of evil, kakko huponoia, and thus a project of mind, and the more corporeally bound phobos, a sudden quivering, parodica poesis. And from phobos, of course, our modern sense of that thing from which one flees, the often idiosyncratic, often inexplicable, yet powerfully visceral cause of an outward display of great and panicked fear. To be thought to take an uneven surface, as on the sea, or to bristle as in a mane, to ruffle, to shudder, the words that share the territory of horror are first, the Greek frisso, poetically as in hote frisso aurore, Menelaus' heart is stirred like the bristling, growing fields of corn, in Iliad 23.599, and viscerally, as in a chill, a shiver from great fear, as invoked by the chorus in Aeschylus's 7 against Thebes, when they speak Fricka etan olesiokon theon o theois homoion, shuddering in dread at all this laying waste. In his Oedipus, Seneca personifies horror as Phrike, daimonia of fear, horror, terror, tremor, her name sharing the root fritto, to shudder, to shiver. Second is the rarer, often poetic or dramatic novelty, orodia, affright, dread, terror, fear, or rodeo, to be terrorized, to dread, to shrink from. not to lasso cows, to be clear. No, we have not moved so far from the telltale erectable hairs from mistaking bristle for ontology. New words. New words. We were tired of the old ones. But new words have not saved us here. The diachronic impulse to trace the transfer and crossings from Latin to Greek, to find our way to a necklace imagining, has returned the same shivering quake, merely adding the gesture of recoil, the spring or flinching that demands elasticity in the spine, muscularity in the back, and what holds fast to body, strikes and rustles forcibly, disasters the stable ridge and waves the stem. Both Greek and Latin lines end in Goethe's Das Schaudern ist der Menschheit bestes Ziel, in which an overwhelming, sublime tremble, smelt of fear, anxiety, anguish, awe, is the very finest experience of the human, and the critical track runs loyally straight onto now. The history of the concept of horror is the very opposite of unfindable. It is, like its namesake, too much unconcealed, works on the surface of a skin. Neck persists, neck insists. It carries a lack of theoretical affect, assuredly displaces nothing about which nothing is unknown. It is remarkably easy to remain with the body's narrow feeling field of muscle, chain, and nerve. So much thinking is catastrophic. Sticking with violences to the neck because of anxiety about its overturning, frightened to bring its fecund disorders to a close. But necks veil a more disturbing violence. Necks shield and delay confrontations with unsuspected modes of horror, ones linked to forces of order, systematicity, languages, schemes, shapes, and structures. In short, you end up with essentially a pornographic notion of horror, in which these things which seem to flow into horror writing so naturally, like we consider Annihilation's a great case in point. Like, you don't need to shudder at Annihilation to recognize that it's horror, or to recognize that, like, horror invokes something of it, or it invokes something of horror, but not by dint of it causing you to feel tense or nervous or something like that. This is from Maurice Blanchot's The Infinite Conversation. What is a philosopher? We'll probably end it here because my throat's going, and we'll pick this up next stream. What is a philosopher? That is perhaps an anachronistic question, but I will give a modern response. In the past, one might have said, it is a man who stands in wonder. Today, I would say, it is a man who is afraid. Philosophers are numerous, then, excepting Socrates and Elaine, both famous for having been good combatants and having drunk hemlock without trembling. But perhaps philosophical fear is of a more noble character. Not at all. Fear, whether it be cowardly or courageous, is intimate with what is frightening, and what is frightening is what makes us leave peace, freedom, and friendship all at the same time. Through fright, therefore, we leave ourselves, and thrown outside, we experience, in the guise of the frightening, what is entirely outside us and other than us, the outside itself. Then common fear would be philosophical fear insofar as it gives us a kind of relation with the unknown, thereby offering us the knowledge of what escapes knowledge, fear, anguish, and we thus approach philosophies that themselves are not unknown. Yet there is in this experience a movement that collides as though head-on with philosophy. The fearful man in the space of his fear participates in and unites with what makes him afraid. He is not only fearful, that is, the eruption of what arises and is disclosed in fear, but is it thought that can be afraid? Are you not already using here a language that is symbolic, full of imagery, or literary, quote-unquote? It is the thinker who becomes frightened. He is frightened of what threatens his thought. And what does he fear as a man of thought? Nothing other than fear. The philosopher, in this case, would be someone who is afraid of fear, unquote. And here, this line here, you can't get to a knowledge of what escapes knowledge, sort of touching on something sort of beyond the bound of sort of what is typical or comfortable to human life, even at a very basic level, like at the level where even suffering is a kind of enjoyment of our particular form, as Marx says roughly. You can't get to that if the way you think things is entirely convergent on a particular physiological structure that you started with and that you end up with. You're kind of railroaded that way to something that is limited by the very limited, if fascinating, structure that gave rise, that you've used essentially as the metaphor initially. Because, like, truly, it's not the raising of the hairs that is at stake here. It's something more complicated than a skin affect or its immediate associations. There's something deeper going on. And that's essentially what she's arguing. And I think what we've talked about here is like this kind of dynamic is ubiquitous in thinking. Even in critical theory. Blanchot? Is it? I thought it was Blanchot. Blanchot? Okay. Language is awesome. Might I have the PDF? I'll pop the PDF into the library in the Discord server. I'll do that right now, actually. Assuming it is not too big, because sometimes that's a problem. I have it in cinema. Let's see, does that work? Yes. All right. I have added the I've added life-destroying diagrams into the Discord server. It is in the library section. We will pick this up again sometime. I have a birthday to attend to, so I'm going to call it here. It is French, yes. But I'm bad at French, so I left Quebec. Where am I sending you all? Looks like Queenman's Live. I'll send you there. He's covering the Xanderhal stuff. Remember, behave, children. Cheerio. Have a good night. I'll see you tomorrow.